Okie dokie. Well, so there we go. Mark, do you want to be the host? Or do you want me
Sure,
to?
you can make me a host so we can listen to Lulu and what's his name argue more.
Do you guys mind playing the link I just sent of the Faraday research? It's my friend Mike Don Smith pulse motor combination that he's just been working with.
Yeah.
Bernie,
Although,
take it away.
Bernie, let me do this though. Let me give a caveat. So I've been having to edit some of our conference stuff, some of the BBC videos, and some of the other stuff, especially if it has like if it's been broadcast on TV and it has like a spoken track, right, like a narrator, or if it's got music, that we get hammered on copyrights, and I either have to mute it or delete it. So for indie stuff, we're usually safe.
Yeah.
I just want to put that out there for not just for you, but for everybody. Just, try to avoid TV footage.
Very important, actually, that you bring that up, because that will actually get Jeremy's strike as well as my channel and my friend Campbell's as well that are live right now too. So thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, we had two of them in rapid succession. It was BBC stuff from open discussion, I think last week, and it happens, right? And it in a weird way, in terms of copyright, since it's being used, it's actually technically not violating copyright because it's being there's a name for it. It's educational in nature, but YouTube doesn't care. So I see Michael's hand up. Michael, you don't have to put your hand up. It's open discussion. Just jump in.
I wanted
It's
to
free
share
zone. It's free zone.
it's I want to share this. I've been having this discussion on the Tic Tac. Can you guys see this this image frame I got here?
It's interesting. Our UFO friends have been suspiciously quiet lately, haven't they?
Yeah, hold on. I got to get rid of my.
I think they just want attention. I think they make headlines. They see it in the news. They get bored.
No, I talked to them yesterday, and they're talking that I have a vampire eyes. That's what they're talking about yesterday. So I don't know what that means, but I was like, okay, then admit I'm God. And they're like, okay, we're almost there. That's the news.
You look a little tired. Could be that. That could be the vampire eyes. I don't think that's a very polite comment, though.
Nah,
I wouldn't say that to a friend. I guess maybe if I was a ET, then I would, but
no, not an ET. If it's somebody you met face to face and you've analyzed their sense of humor and their intent when they're saying that, is it something that is meant as a negative, or is it meant as haha, it's funny? It's not. I met these people, I think they're wonderful thinkers, even to, my gosh, you know what I mean? To have the guts, let's do it. Okay, let's do it. It's not hypothetical. Let's just go do it. Okay, give me the specs. What is it? From here to here, let's cut it.
Well, Lulu, let me focus back in on Michael, because his video is running. Michael, what are you showing us?
So this is the Tic Tac. Okay, and there's these frames that I've captured, and what we're seeing here is the Tic Tac appears to be throwing this pulse, this EMP pulse, which is hitting the Nimitz aircraft, and when it does, you see this thing lighting up in the background here, how it lights up, and you see these lines going across, kind of like old CRT television set. Where if you didn't have any image or anything, you just see the lines that went across the screen there. And that's kind of what this looks like. If you look at it, it hits and then it goes bright white, okay? And what's going on here is the infrared sensor is this little 2D array of little diodes, and when it senses the light, it's coming in the front of the detector. Well, what's going on here is the readout part of it, the back part that the sensor sits on, is actually getting hot, and it warms up so that it causes this flash. And you can actually see the pattern of this part, and it's called a fan out, the thing that reads it in. And I got this image here. Do you guys see this one now? So here's our detector array. And then below it is the fan out part. You can see this little crosshatch pattern here. So that's what's actually, so what's significant about this is when something's hitting the detector, and the detector is sitting in this vacuum chamber where it's being cryogenically cooled to a low temperature so it can see it in the infrared. And for some reason, something's getting through and heating it up from the Tic Tac. Now, so that's basically what I wanted to show you all. Now, the mystery here is it because the Tic Tac was intentionally hitting the aircraft? Was it like trying to jam it somehow? And some of the people that I've talked to that were in the Navy people, they seems like they have a lot of information about the radar, and they actually do talk about they were jamming the radar. And so my other observation or possibility that that's occurred to me is when this thing is going to like a warp drive or something. Hal Puthoff has this video where he's talking about it, blue shifting, and basically it's like an X-ray or a gamma ray. When something goes really fast, it causes the space time around it to change, so that basically things go faster, and the light shifts to like the X-ray region, and it can actually cause harmful effects on people that are, around it. So the mystery is, which is it? Is it an intentional thing from the Tic Tac, or is it just a phenomena that's a byproduct of its space-time metric engineering technology?
If I was guessing, I would guess that it's a byproduct. That's what I would guess. Everything I've read that seems quasi-serious, right? I mean, what the most serious stuff that I've read on UAPs, it indicates that they're aware of us, they're aware of aircraft, they're aware of stuff. They just don't really care, that maybe they're curious, but they're not like malicious. My gut feeling is, to be honest, if you can build a craft that advanced, I don't think we have anything that could threaten it, and they probably are fully aware of that. So
I don't think they like our nukes for some reason.
I think, what, I've read a lot about that. That's an area that I've dug in. I don't think that they dislike them. I think that they're curious about it. And my gut feeling, I could be wrong about this, but so anything nuclear, and again, this goes back to that book that I read, but also a lot of the associated reports. Okay, so this goes back to the 40s. This goes back to Hanford. There were UFO sightings over Hanford before Kenneth Arnold. They just didn't know what to do with them. So they had nuke set it, but so there have been a couple of big well-known sightings, right, at nuclear missile silos, and then one where supposedly a UFO did something and a nuclear missile went off course from it,
But when I saw where they shot the missile down, it had like a ray come out of it.
That's the one I'm thinking of. The Atlas. That was the Atlas test.
Actually shutting down ICBM missiles, and then basically
I think that's
false alert.
I think it's interference. What I found when I read that book was virtually every, so nuclear missile sub bases, submarines, weapons depots, processing and refining facilities, storage and logistics facilities, anything having to do with nukes has had UFO sightings. So it wasn't just the weapons, it's what, nuclear vehicles, it's where they make it, where they refine it, where they clean it up, so my pet theory is that they're detecting the neutrinos from it, and they're probably curious about that.
Well, I think they're worried about us killing ourselves.
It's possible.
would make it, would basically be a evolutionary event, because you got to realize evolution isn't slow and methodical. It's punctuated equilibrium. That's what it is. So it's like a meteor hitting the earth and wiping out all the dinosaurs. That's what evolution is. It's not a slow thing. That
Yes, long periods of silence punctuated by moments of sheer terror.
So
What was deflectors, like invisible deflectors? Even if something like that were to come, we wouldn't feel it because it shatters it on the smallest, you know, and it's working like little like things, you know, for us, we don't like, you know, think of it like that.
Well, I don't know about deflectors. I think it's more like war games, Matthew Broderick, right?
Like shattering it, like it's, you know, what if it's actually protecting us? We are thinking like, you know, it maybe flashes, it's giving us a signal like either there's going to be a shock residual, so absorption somehow, like that would be the emission of, you know, watch out, like on a cellular level.
just don't worry about it. I just kind of glide and ride the wave.
Yeah, everything I've seen,
I would too. I mean,
everything I've seen,
For the ride, and I hope, and I, you know, and whatever happens, happens. You know, it's just the way it is.
well, you're in California though. You're in California. That's just mellow, you know?
Oh yeah, I'm right near the Monterey Bay. Too.
That's right. You're just like, you know, it's all good.
Ride the wave. That's you can get hit by it. It's just an optical illusion. It's an event horizon.
Monterey, you're in SoCal, right?
Yeah. So, well, not Southern California. Sokol is how it's spelled. SOQUEL.
Oh, okay.
But we call it SoCal.
Yeah.
But yeah. So
there have been times where I've wondered if LA has actually already been nuked and just nobody noticed.
well, you know, it was nice. I was working in California City till Friday, doing monitoring, archaeology monitoring, and got up to 90 degrees. And then we're talking, you know, February 11th was 90 degrees.
Well, you know, Michael, up here in the Seattle area, it is a balmy. Ooh, you know what? It's sunny. It's sunny today. It's a balmy 49, but we've been in the mid 40s all week, so I wouldn't complain about 90. You know, that's like you don't know what you got until it's gone.
If you saw my hat and stuff, imagine that all I got on is the hat and the hard
That's
hat.
one of the Village People.
And the
That's one of the guys from the Village People. Pretty sure that was one of the guys from the Village People.
So, well, thanks.
I think Mark has an update for us now.
Yeah, I see a movement. He's just tinkering.
Yeah, I think I was saying earlier, war games, right? The only way to win is not to play.
Yeah, that's right. My son, he's into that kind of game.
Tim, it's going to be a little longer. I'm still setting up the rails for the sample holder. I was just planning on running a live experiment, and I timed it for 9 o'clock, and then everyone came on early. So
what's 9
it's going to be a
o'clock?
little bit.
Mark, are you growing your hair out? Is it going to continue to get longer? Are you going to have a curly ponytail?
I have had a curly ponytail at some point. Yeah.
Oh,
I can't
there you
get
go.
one right now.
Right. Chris.
Todd DeCiato has some updates as well. He's been setting up a Schlerin device. If you can get him on, is he here?
He is not here. You know what? Let me find him.
Yeah, we got a high-speed camera down there in North Carolina. With some cool lighting systems.
What's a Schlerin device? Can you describe that? I'm not familiar with that.
So it's basically shows you physical waves, like sound waves moving through the air. Oops. And it uses a combination of some like telescope mirrors and smoke devices.
Oh, there's Tony.
Oh, there's
Yeah.
Tony.
I've used Schlerin. It basically looks at the density changes in the air and gives you kind of a shadow of those density changes. When we did Schlerin, we used a laser through optical lenses through whatever we were looking at. And you can see the heat patterns like off a candle real well, you know, in a Schlerin device. It's pretty good. I wanted to let you know that I put a paper on the chat. It may be an old draft. I was trying to look for the original, but there's a chart in it. It's figure 1. It's something called a Scott Allen Candida, something another interval that basically says that technology changes about every 50 to 55 years. And what the paper is about is that we missed it in 2000 when it comes to propulsion. So basically,
Could be. I'm looking at papers now. Michael McDonnough also posted, Tony, I see yours, Space Times article 913 KB. So I do see yours. Above that, there's some links to Ari de Gauss, who did pass away many years ago. He was an interesting doctor. I talked to him a few times. He had a complete independent model. Well, no, Tony, you didn't have to go away. I wasn't trying to chase you away.
well, I just don't want to hiccup or burp or something while I'm just sitting here doing nothing.
Oh, this Schlerin device sounds like the Aliens motion tracker, which I have loved since I was a child. So.
But if you bring up that figure 1, I talk a little bit about it if you want.
Do you want to do a screen share?
Well, how do I figure out how to do that? Share screen.
Yeah. So again, that's the green button on your PC. It should be, there you go.
Do you see it?
Yeah.
Anyway, this figure 1, me and a guy named Daryl Webb did this. Daryl Webb had all the information to build this chart, but he basically looked at propulsion back, when it first started, and showing that, like I said, from around a 50 to 55 year interval, something great happens in propulsion. And this is not just propulsion, it's for a lot of other different technologies follow the same pattern. But we should have seen something around 2000. So that would have changed propulsion. And I think what that should have been is nuclear. We should have seen a great increase in nuclear about that time, but it didn't happen. And the argument could be that the treaties we signed with Russia for the nuclear pact is what stopped that. But still, there should have been something else been picked up and continued going through, and it didn't happen. Even with the new SLS, it doesn't seem to fit this pattern. You might say that Elon Musk's space adventure could fit into this 55-year pattern a little bit. It'd be like,
well, if I could play the devil's advocate for a moment, the two big things that I think of, and they were around that time period. They were a little late, 50, 55 years though, maybe that fits. So one of them was the X Prize, right? And that, when you mentioned Elon Musk, he was part of the X Prize. So that was part of it. And then the other one was NASA's robot exploration of Mars, which started in the 90s. And that wasn't propulsion specifically, but they've done.
This is really about propulsion. There should have been some great change in the efficiency or something, of propulsion around 2000 that didn't happen. a new engine, that was highly more efficient or something.
That would probably have to be nuclear.
It just didn't change. This is pretty much all about the performance of the engines and how they change over time. But there was no performance change in engines in 2000. The last one we did was the shuttle engine that was in the 70s. But the thing about, there's another thing I don't know if I'm bringing out in this paper or not. The birth of space propulsion really started in the early 1900s through about 1930 timeframe there. And if you put what we're doing now in that perspective, then this new exotic propulsion stuff that we're talking about is now in the early whatever 20, what century are we in? So we're kind of starting that now, but it could be another 50 or 60 years before it really is put into production, based upon the way, although our technology today should allow it to progress faster because we have more things now that they didn't have in the 1900s.
I would guess, I mean, the thing that I see, I would be really surprised if we don't see big movement in fusion soon. And the reason is, even fusion reactors, right? They just had they had a new stable burn. This was yesterday on the news, and then they had another one like a month ago. It wasn't quite as good. So I think that we're moving towards fusion reactors. And from
they're doing that, NASA's already doing that. NASA sat down and basically did a study and said, what do we do after SLS? And the answer was, we got nothing. And so they were ready to kill the nuclear program at NASA until they decided we better do something. So they started putting money back into their nuclear program.
I'd like to see them do more of that. I mean, from what I understand, they're having all sorts of hangups with the SLS, right? So why not put that money back into basic research?
Well, there's a lot of arguments as what do we need SLS when we got Elon Musk?
Yeah, well, and not just him, but Bezos, right? I mean, you've got Elon Musk, and then Bezos is competing for whatever he can get. So,
but they don't go very deep in new theories and things like that. They're engineers, so they're not gonna spend money on new gravitational theories or stuff like that.
Yeah, well, NASA is I mean, NASA is geared. I think they're designed better for basic research than somebody like Elon Musk. He's kind of like
I disagree totally with that. I personally think from the standpoint of propulsion only, not from other stuff. NASA does not do propulsion research, basic research. I argued my whole career that they didn't do research, but I kind of lost. They do research, but they do engineering research. They don't do basic science research in propulsion. They're every now and then you'll see somebody pop up like Sonny White, who claims they're doing something. They get maybe a few $1,000s to do something, but nothing ever goes through. I fought that my whole career. I'd get money, $5,000 to do something and then not get the support to complete it.
Yeah.
And so after a couple years, I couldn't show any results, and so they'd never give me any more money. That happened. I think that happened to Sonny too, and what he was doing. But it's an engineering environment, not a science environment. When you get money for basic research in NASA to do something like we're talking about, you get a couple $1,000s. You go to the National Science Foundation, do something on the same basic level, but another technology, they'll give you $500,000 to $10 million.
Yeah.
So the money, the mindset of the money between NASA and the National Science Foundation, which is basically the difference between engineering and science, it's just a big split. It's never going to happen within NASA until NASA is actually shut down and reorganized into a engineering base, which is what they're already doing, and a science base, which is
what Musk is
the National
doing?
Science Foundation.
Is that what Musk is doing? Isn't that what they're doing when basically the NASA has been replaced by the private space sector where there's actually some semblance of competition. There's more than one supplier. Isn't that the model we want to go towards?
But Elon Musk is still an engineering organization, not a science organization. You know, there have been people like Elon Musk who's put
Putting money-
billions of dollars
putting
into stuff like
research.
this that got ripped off, and a lot of billionaires don't like to put money in stuff anymore because of that. And I've seen that myself over time. But NASA, or not just NASA, what the United States needs is a science organization whose mission is to put NASA out of business from the standpoint of propulsion. That's what they need.
Just not Elon, not Elon doing nuclear.
Not an engineering organization. Elon's an engineering organization.
Yeah,
I'm talking
I just thought,
science.
Why can't they outsource that? My question is, why can't they outsource that?
I just don't want him to, I don't want him to blow up nuclear on the pad, you know, and be like, yeah, we'll just keep doing it until it works.
The
Where
argument,
DARPA fit in?
He did pretty good replacing the internal combustion.
DARPA's military.
You know,
That's a-
When, where is DARPA fit in that picture?
DARPA's
I
military.
I don't think, I personally don't think there's any reason to put fissile material on the top of a rocket.
me either. It's why do it? It's
I think that you know, nuclear treaties notwithstanding, also I think that the general public would not do well with that. Now what I've heard is like, oh, would they talk about it? Paul Size used to write about a wagon train to Mars where you have fusion rockets, but they never actually come near the Earth. Basically, you go up and meet them, and the fusion rocket just goes from Mars to Earth and circles around, but it never leaves orbit.
Space is a nuclear dump. Is that what I'm hearing?
Well,
We-
why
we
not? We
really
dumped
do-
everything else there.
About this, what I'm curious about, this 56-year interval that you're talking about, and if what if it did happen and they just, it's not public, it's something that our government did, like for example the Tic Tac 2004. What if that's ours? What if the technology breakthrough for propulsion happened and they just haven't told us about it?
That's
Well,
what my whole book is about, the UFO Technology Hackers Manual. That's what it's about.
I still think it's ours.
I
That's
don't
what
think it's ours. This is,
Well-
you have to keep in mind, this is our government we're talking about.
Yeah, but we're talking the Tic Tac type technology. That's from a Mark One. That's Mark One technology. That's 50-year-old technology. The Tic Tac is 50 years old at least.
Well, I don't know. I'm not talking about like the what is it? The flying saucers that the Nazis had, right?
No,
Oh,
I'm talking about
the
the
vril.
Mark One is what they talk about with
the-
reference to
we
Area
can
51. They
actually
talk
see
about the Mark One.
the near field and far field, what's going on in the space around the Tic Tac. I don't see that in any of the other imaging I've seen of anything else. The other two videos that were released by the Navy, neither of those showed any of those space-time metric engineering effects. So you got to show me the data, compassion and evidence. What happened to your image there?
Mine or his? Michael's.
Michael's.
I think he disappeared.
Just trying to hear the damn phone.
Yeah, well, you know, Michael, if you'd like to come back and share more sometime, you have a wealth.
Actually, I'm going to do the headset.
Michael, if you'd like to come back and share more sometime, right? I mean,
Yeah.
if you have more presentations, you could talk about beta voltaic, you know, I mean, there are a ton of different things.
Actually, I as I was doing the first one, I already came up with the second one, which is basically my plan for how to go forward with the funding for the second round. I want to take that lump of metal that I've got, turn it into at least 4, maybe 6 anodes, and I've already got the material for the machinable ceramic for at least a half dozen of them, for the, for setting up the vortex tubes.
Yeah.
I do want to get some, I'll probably just, for the initial vortex tubes, I'll just do borosilicate glass, just tubing. But eventually I would like to do a machinable ceramic on the whole thing. So it's solid machinable ceramic. When I go to space in these, I want them to be machinable ceramic. That way there's no, fragile glass. It'll have a little bit of strength. We're even gonna, I'm thinking 6U satellite package on that, for which is what, about 140,000 for the skeleton. And probably I'll try to get at least $250,000 for doing at least a half a dozen of the plasma vortex tubes. The first one out of glass, and maybe the next two out of glass. Then after that, I'll do them all out of ceramic. But I'll talk to some guys I know in Houston. If you recall from way back when on plasma, beta voltaic days, had some doctors that were working on the space shuttle program in the little 0G tug that they had behind them. Can't remember the term for it.
Vaguely remember. But I remember the stimulated beta decay battery. I thought that was interesting. And I saw one who built one with americium smoke detector pellets.
I read that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. What I was talking about is the doctor who had the little sled they pulled behind the space shuttle to get truly low particle area. Anyways, a little experimental package. Anyway, I knew that guy, and he was on our board of directors for Beta Voltaic back in the day. But anyway, I'm going to see if he's still around. He may be retired by now. It's been a long time. Not everybody works until they dies like we do. Some people actually take off.
That's not true. I've heard about that. That's a myth.
Yeah. Anyway, I'll see if I can get a hold of him and maybe get some funding with these guys and get some. I'd like to do a microsatellite test on the plasma vortex as a reaction, to create the reaction mass for a hydrogen rocket. At the very least, I mean, because that's a given. I mean, if it generates heat and it generates hydrogen, then it'll work for something like along the lines of the Casimir, which right now, Casimir has to be done on a huge scale, and they're doing like a liquid or a gas, a form of hydrogen for propellant. Well, if we could do a solid hydrogen propellant from, decomposing a solid metal anode and getting the extra heat and hydrogen from it, I think we've got a source of energy and a source of hydrogen for like a Casimir plasma rocket at the very least.
Yeah. No, I get what you're saying.
Which is what I'm going to go for, at least initially, for funding. Because one of the things I've learned about on funding, it's not pie in the sky. It's like, how much can I earn from this today? I've got to get money. I got to make money this quarter. Not so good for experimental theoretical stuff, but really good for keeping people focused on what's going to make money in the near term. So I guess it serves its purpose.
Yeah. I'll be right back.
All right.
The restroom
I'll talk to you later. All right, bye.
Hey, Harold, you asked me a question earlier. Are you still there?
Is Harold there? I've got a question,
Okay,
or more of a comment in regards to the both the kinetic machine and the gyroscopic. A good way of, I guess, interpreting or understanding those forces is comparing two types of fidget spinners. One with just one central ball bearing in it in the center, and one that has 4 ball bearings in it with the 3 on the outside. And that you can physically feel a much stronger inertial gravitational force when you're spinning the one with the 4 ball bearings compared to the one with just 1 ball bearing in it.
I think that question's to Mike Gamble, not me.
Sorry, Glenn.
Glenn, Harold, I have a question for you. I know the DARPA was funding the EM drive, from Roger Sawyer. And so where does with the early discussion, where does DARPA fit in the picture of investing in doing basic research?
DARPA's job is to find technology that the military can use, not what NASA can use. I can't answer for anything that the Department of Defense does because I never had a top secret clearance the whole time I was at NASA, so I don't know what they were doing. The only thing I can say is that I was at a meeting about 20 years ago with this lady who used to be a NASA deputy administrator, gave a talk on something which I don't even remember anymore. But what I remember is that people were huddled up around her, and as I was walking up, I didn't hear the question, but what she said was that if NASA could use the technology that the Department of Defense has, NASA would not have any problem. And since I'm a propulsion person, I say, well, yeah, they got propulsion that we don't have, but I could be totally wrong. But I honestly believe that the Department of Defense probably has more technology than NASA will ever have in our lifetimes. And we may never know about it either. That's why I think these Tic Tacs are more probably ours than are somebody else's.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the answer. And that was an interesting paper you posted. I want to read it completely. I scanned over, but it looked like has a good history behind it. Thank you.
Wrote that in 2010. No one listened to me then. I've got another article we did called The Death of Rocket Science in the 21st Century, and no one listened to me that either. In fact, I got in trouble over it, saying that I was trying to influence the management of NASA, and that's not my job.
Well, are you going to post it?
If I could, let me look for it. It actually was published in a NASA magazine, NASA's Ask magazine. Let's see if I can find it.
No, okay, good, because I like to read it, find out, what is the prediction, what does the crystal ball says, a prediction about the death of rocketry in the 21st century. I know there was a book written by Robert Cook, The Death of Rocketry, the inventor.
I just posted it. I consider rocket science different than what they call.
Oh, Jeremy, you know what? Jeremy Reese is here. Jeremy Reese is here. Let me ask. Let me ask Jeremy if he wants to take over as host for a bit. I need to get something to eat before my blood sugar bottoms out. If he's paying attention. Hey, Jeremy.
I was texting Jeremy, Tim. I think he's away for a moment on his work site.
Okay. Oh, okay. He set it up on YouTube and then he's, yeah. That's okay. Yeah, well, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you, Harold.
Yeah. I just wanted to say that the term rocket scientist is a joke when it comes to rocket scientist is a terminology that actually means everything that it takes to build a current rocket. But a rocket scientist is different. A rocket scientist should be builds new systems.
No, but it's a nose one. I looked that up online.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I had to mute Kate out. I think when people are on Zoom on their phones, sometimes they hit the thing with their chin. I have that during the week, during business meetings. We have people that hit the, so I don't know. I've never used it on a phone, but they hit it with their chin and then it unmutes it. Well, Tony, I would agree. I think NASA needs to start, you need to work ahead, right? I mean,
well, NASA started out as scientists. In fact, when I hired into NASA, my branch chief was a physicist. I doubt if there's other than, I mean, there is a group who they claim to do science even at Marshall here. But technically what they do is they build instruments to go out and look at things in space. And then that data is fed back to the real scientists. So they're really engineers rather than science, but they have to have a science background to understand the instrumentation they're going to build because of what they're looking at, type of thing. But I don't consider them science. I consider them development engineers, just happen to be who have PhDs in certain science areas. But I don't believe there's any real rocket science being done at NASA today, or have been done since they kicked all the Germans out of NASA back in the early 70s, I guess. Although I've had many arguments about that. Even the nuclear stuff they're doing is not, they're not developing nuclear rockets from ground one. The basic stuff would be the science. They're taking what's been done, re-engineering it so they can use it in space. So it's all engineering. The people who are really doing the science behind stuff like that are the people in the universities or the people who are being contracted to do research in there, not NASA. I mean, there are some, a little bit, but not the caliber that you need to invent something new. Because the funding is not there and they don't want to put the funding into it.
Yeah, and theoretical science is very risky too. So only underdogs like me can afford to take that risk because we don't have anything to lose.
Yeah.
So basically,
when I first hired on at NASA, my salary was technically paid by the shuttle program. So I could look, for $5,000, I could buy a lot of lab equipment and do some research because my salary was paid for. And then they went to this full cost accounting where if I wanted to do a research project, not only did I have to find the money for my equipment, but I had to find the money for my salary, which was like an order or two orders of magnitude higher than the amount of money I need for my equipment. And so it just got to where it was almost impossible to do anything. Plus, when it did give you money, it was peanuts compared to what you really needed to do.
Yeah.
If NASA really wants to invent something new, I think the first thing they need to do is to get DOD to tell them what they're, or letting people like us know what DOD's doing. Because they probably may have, you can't argue to Congress to go build a new engine when the Department of Defense has already built it and we don't know what they've done. So that's a problem. That's one problem. And then the other problem is that NASA just doesn't have the propulsion scientists that they need to develop, to look at the theories and develop and do the testing to develop these things. And because they really need at least a whole branch of at least 5 to 10 people whose like I said, whose job is to literally put NASA propulsion people out of business in another, really going in another direction. Not out of, when I say out of business, I mean they change the science behind the propulsion that we're doing. And that literally puts people, I even had an argument with a guy who said, what if we did that? I wouldn't have a job. And I said, no, you won't. They just move you into doing this other stuff. You know, so how can you fight people who don't want to go in that direction?
Glenn, the link is not working. The one that you just posted.
Well, I can go find it again, post it again. I put it there and I clicked on it, it worked for me.
I'm clicking again to see if it works for me.
And again, this was probably done around 2010. Well, like I said, no one listens to me. Did you get it?
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, I went to Science Direct. I went to there. What is the name? So I have to find out the article there to read it.
Oh, I
But
sent you.
I'm in Science Direct. I went in.
I
Let me
sent
see.
you. I sent the one that we published on Ask Magazine, although there within that it says that it was published by someplace. Let me, but I don't know if I have that one. If it,
Oh yeah, the 100-year Starship project. Yeah, that didn't last very long.
I could tell you a story about that, but I won't do it online.
Yeah, that's right. Don't get us in trouble. I like your shirt, Phil.
Yeah, thanks.
Is
Yeah,
is
that
it just a
was
band
weird.
shirt or is it an album shirt? Is it a specific album?
No, I went to see Guns N' they were there in Ottawa at the TD Place in 2015 or 16, something like that. That was
Like
a really
reunion tour.
great show, really amazing, great show. That was probably the best I ever seen. So yeah, good memories.
Yeah, those of you who's in Canada, the Tennessee Valley workshop's going to be held in Canada, not this year, but I think the year after next. They do it every 2 years, so they had it last year, so it'll be next year, I guess.
Yeah, if it wasn't from the COVID lockdown, there's a lot of shows here in Canada, the Rockfest, the Heavy Montreal and all that. So it's, I'm a fan. It's very cheap here, so there's a lot of the quality versus the cost is very effective. But yeah, we're
Hey, Tim, Woodward should have his workshop this year. You might want to see if y'all can go and have your show from there.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. They're gonna do it live this year, huh?
Well, I haven't heard anything from them. And last year they only allowed people to attend it online. Were only the presenters, so I couldn't even watch it. I did find it later and watched a few of them, but I was kind of mad that I couldn't watch it live like everybody else did. But if they have it in Denver, I'll go again this year. Hopefully. But I mean, not this year. Yeah, this year, I mean, September.
That would be a great one to go to. And that would help us build
Watch
solidarity.
out for that Eskridge girl. She tries to say everything that comes out of your mouth belongs to her.
No trash talking, Mark.
Well, I
Okay,
invited her there last time. I'm not inviting her again.
Yeah, I'd fly out to Estes Park. If they could do it in the winter, I'd get some skiing in. That'd be cool.
It's usually right before the winter skiing season, I think, because there's usually never no snow around the park. Maybe some higher up, I guess.
Do people in our area ski? I don't think anyone. I don't think that's a hobby for.
Jeremy says he skis. I've skied for years. I'm actually I'm done here tonight. I can't get the wires in for the to get the test set up. I need to wait for my my assistant Tom. There's just not enough space, and you need an extra pair of hands to set it up. So we're not going to get any live experiments.
No, that's cool. That's cool. Well, we can keep doing open discussion. Mark, if you want, I could make you the host. If you want to hang around.
Sure, yeah. If you guys want to watch, I'm working on my paramotor right now. Actually.
Okay. Yeah. Well, here I will. Hang on. I'll make you the host then.
Oops.
And if any of you guys live in Huntsville, I need a lab assistant down here.
You need one too, don't you?
I will be back in a while then, but just I think today's conference went pretty well. Mark, we remember you had asked why because I was bugging you at 4 for your update. So all of our guests today went a little short, which is totally cool. And then we started 2 hours early, right? Because of Dr. Pinto's he's in Turkey, so his time zone is just way too far ahead.
Mm-hmm.
So, and Tony knows him from STAFE. Tony, you probably remember.
Yeah,
Fabrizio.
That's like what, 30 years ago? It's a long time.
Yeah.
I'm
That was
having
probably
some
when he was
trouble
working for
here.
JPL when we knew him.
Yeah, I think it went pretty well today.
Yeah, I'm excited, and we have some good guests coming up for the 26th also. So,
I can't get my video started for some
I think
reason.
John Hutchison may be with us on the 26th. John's a free spirit, so.
Tim, 1 second. Can I make you a host for a second? I need to log back in.
Yeah, go for it, man.
Much love, guys. I'm sign out. I'll see you again in 2 weeks.
Okay, thanks again, Bernie. Have a great evening.
You
I'm
too.
gonna sign out too because I got a train before 9 o'clock, so only have half an hour left. All right, take it easy, guys.
Should we shut things down then for the night, or?
Before we had to shut out, Glenn.
Yeah.
I just read the abstract and the first introduction in your paper, The Death of Rocketry. My question for you is the thesis of that paper, which I'm going to read completely several times, is based on all your years of experience working at NASA, the change, how it was or what it is, is that what the thesis is based on, your entire experience of late, or the entire career, or just a comparison between beginning and now for the present time?
It's my experience of NASA while I was working for NASA. I hired on after the Germans were actually gone. There were a few guys left, but not many. And they were mostly analysts instead of regular engineers. But from my perspective of listening from everybody and the history of NASA, once the Germans were gone, the real basic science for rocketry went away with them. And engineers began being the main people who were management all the way up to headquarters, except every now and then they'd throw a OPM guy who was a budget analyst in as a NASA headquarters guy. But basically engineers run NASA today, not scientists. Okay. And the engineering programs that they do are very, very expensive. So the engineers want the money to go into their programs, not into doing basic science. And I think that's a wrong approach. I think the president's list is what I'm gonna say. I think the United States needs to develop a national science foundation, just like the one they have, whose sole mission is to look at propulsion and change the way we do propulsion today. The pyramid for propulsion today is that the rocket engine sits on the payload sits on the top of the pyramid, and everything else is your rocket. And we need to get technology that flips that around, where what's at the bottom is the engine, and everything else on the pyramid is what you're taking to space, because it's just too daggum expensive with the technology we have today to put stuff in space. It's actually more cost effective to put factories on the moon and build everything we were putting in space and send to space than it is to build it on the Earth.
Yeah.
Yes,
Oh, Mark, are you back?
good thesis.
Let me see.
I am back, yes.
Do you want me to make you host again?
Oh, sure.
Okay.
I'll take over the
Okay.
reins.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I am going to step away, and yeah, I would say just keep going as long as you want, guys. We're definitely in open discussion territory now. I think today's conference went pretty well. I'm excited. We had fresh faces, new ideas, and we're going to keep doing that in the new year.
I hope to have a live experiment for next time, or at least an update of what's going on with Alzafon. We ran a couple of experiments. I would send the link out to the WhatsApp group whenever it's ready, and people just didn't show up, so we started just doing it private.
Yeah.
It's there's always a snag with these experiments. Right now, it's just getting everything wired up properly, and I can't do it with just two hands.
No, that makes sense. Makes sense.
Like getting fishing line going through several different holes simultaneously. And
Okay. Well, it has been good. I will pop back in a bit. Okay.
how's everything going in Huntsville, Tony? Actually, you're not in Huntsville. You're in Tennessee, right?
No, I'm in Madison, which is right outside of Huntsville. But it's really, Madison is Huntsville. It's just, in fact, I could probably throw rocks at 3 different townships from where my house is. Huntsville, Madison, and Harvest out here.
Have you tried?
No, but I've lived in the 3 different zip codes that's real close by here since I've been here, and they're all within half a mile of each other. So it's just funny that, but I think the Madison should be part of Huntsville, but they don't want to be. But it's growing out here, but we'll see.
I'm doing some winter maintenance on my paramotor right now. You see that behind me?
Yeah, I was wondering why you had it sitting there behind you. That doesn't have anything to do with what you're doing.
Except that you fly.
Yeah, you need to put some ion engines on it or something, at least make it look funky.
Yeah, well, I don't know about ion engines, but that puppy puts out 23 horsepower and it only weighs 60 pounds.
Yeah.
It can lift itself plus another 70 pounds if it's going up vertical.
Yeah, there's as long as you got a fluid medium, as long as you've got a medium that has high density, you can get some good thrust out of it. So when you get into an environment that doesn't have any density, like space, is where you have the problem.
And then you have just the density of space-time, which ain't too dense.
It's the there's a terminology for the density of space. I forget what it is right now. It's in my paper.
Mu and epsilon.
No, I
Permittivity and permeability.
It's
Permittivity and permeability.
that just has to do with the speed of light. you multiply those together, or take the square root of multiply, and then you get speed of light. There's a term for the density of space. I guess you can't remember what it is right now. It's in my last paper I did.
You file any new patents recently?
I'm actually writing one right now. I actually submitted 2 last year. I need somebody to come over here and write a bunch more for me.
What good do they do you?
Put the
Haven't made a
patents in the
dime.
chat.
I haven't made a dime off of none of them. I think that was Lulu. What'd she say?
I'll put the link in the chat.
What link?
I don't know.
The patents in the chat.
If you go look for me on,
Because I had it on unmute. I was thinking things like, how are you hearing my voice when I, like, you know, I have like the visual and the audio off, but you can hear me. That's cool. Like, that's cool. All right, let's do it again. Let's play this experiment again. Hold on.
go
Put
look
the
me up.
patents in the chat.
Go look for me
That's
on.
Kate. Who's
go look-
Kate?
Go look for me on ResearchGate, and you'll find all my patents.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Listen,
Yeah,
I just want to go. I'm just like building my, you know, tier center. I know, but just, you know, I'm so immersed in this that like I'm learning so much more than like I feel like going and, you know, in person, like, I don't know, feeling weird, but I'll
But the 2 patents I put in last year, they're supposed to publish one of them at the end of next year. And if I do, I'll come on and talk about it, because it's related to the those tic-tacs propulsion.
I'm all about the Tic Tac.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure I believe in it, but
Kate,
I
can you
can't
turn on the
believe you're
camera?
right near Huntsville and you don't believe in it.
I don't believe that they're from outer space. Let's put it that way. I think they're probably a U.S. In fact, my opinion, they have a lot of the way they behave is a lot like some of the technology I've seen over my career, most of which I can't talk about.
Well, there's ours and then there's theirs. So
Well, on the belief aspect, I think it's better that you be skeptical, because that means that you're going to be asking the right questions to verify if something is legitimate or not. If you believe in it, you tend to not ask the right questions because you just don't want to eliminate something that you believe in, you know?
Well, I'm a physicist, and a good physicist will criticize his own work. If you think what you're doing is the greatest thing in the world, then you're probably wrong. But if you
Did you used to work for Skunk Works? Is that why?
No, I have my own lab in my base. Well, in my new house space garage here.
That's interesting. That actually concept of operation for science seemed to be the best way to operate for any kind of like art or anything else too. Thus, the best artists tend to be also the biggest critics of their own work.
If you can't criticize your own work, then you're probably not doing something right. Because what happens is you get so focused on what you're doing, You think that what you're doing is the greatest thing in the world and you're missing something because you're not looking at other things.
You gotta be an outsider looking in. What
Yeah.
they're looking for is people that can think, an outside observer.
Yeah. Yeah, when I write a paper, I'll write it and then set it down for a few weeks and then come back to it. And I generally end up rewriting half of it when I do that. It's because you get too you have to write your paper as if you're not the person who did the work. Otherwise you write it wrong.
Yeah, the natural course of events is you always get it wrong the first time.
Hey, Mark, it's the quantum energy density once you get into space. That's what I was trying to come up with. That's what you got to act on in space.
Energy density. Yeah, I think that's what they were talking about with the Casimir effect. Turning on a light increases its strength. You're also increasing the quantum vacuum energy.
Yeah.
So the quantum vacuum energy is not a constant. That would change as you enter solar systems and the nebula and stuff. Space weather is a real thing.
Yeah. Well, based on the model I put together, it's not the quantum energy that you're operating on, it's the quantum density. But you have to use energy to manipulate the density.
Glenn, have you ever heard of a game called Elite Dangerous?
No.
It's a space simulator. You're flying around a flying saucer or spacecraft kind of thing, and you can do missions and shit and whatever, but they also have space weather. And if you get too close to like the rays that are coming out of a quasar or something like that, your ship blows up.
I don't play games. Back a long time ago when Zelda first came out, I started to play it and I realized, I said, you know, if I start playing games like this, you'll find me dead at the computer someday playing games.
Yeah, I totally agree. I just here's somebody.
I agree with that
played Elite in the
too.
80s.
I'd rather make things than play games. We have
Yeah.
limited time on this planet, so.
God, they're like reiterating my voice. This is so cool. Like, this is cool.
No, Lulu, that's not your voice. That's a girl named Kate. That's not your voice. It's not an alternate reality. That's somebody named Kate.
No, I am from an alternate reality, but you know, if Lulu wants me to be her voice, I can be her alternate reality voice. Why not? I mean, this is the right group of people for this.
Raise the oscillator, the frequency on a different, you know, like, you know,
Oh my God.
listen, I'm not gonna argue with you, not one bit. You know,
Okay.
play with it all you want, but the truth is the truth.
Right, exactly. The truth is the truth.
That's crazy.
Well,
Yeah, no, I wasn't like trying to sell the video game. I was just saying that, you know, it just came to mind. And what you guys said is 100% true. Video games are a waste of time. But I found that one particularly addictive. I had to like delete it off the computer because it reminded me of, you know, the flying saucers and all that shit we're trying to build.
My grandson plays the video games and he stays up late, can't get him up for school, all this other stuff. It's just not worth it. It's just too much of a problem. Although he probably would make a good
Some of them are
pilot.
violent. Some of them are really bad, like Grand Theft Auto 5. Oh my God, that shit should be banned. Like all the
Well, it's actually getting far worse because of the technology developments with mixed reality, because the idea is you turn sort of, most people will be living sort of in the metaverse and it will become a luxury to travel and all of that. So I see like some of my friends' prototypes with what they're building as far as augmented reality and then extended reality, which combines VR, AR, and ER. So it's just like what the future is this incredibly addictive sort of space, but you are working, you are doing everything there. The tech is very intense.
The only time you need to be put into an alternate reality like that is when you're like on your deathbed. Just hook that to my brain and let me die in there, you know? Not when you're like 16 years old.
I totally
Or when-
agree. What's up, Thomas? Mr. Anderson?
Oh, just listening.
Oh,
I was gonna
okay.
say, I use Minecraft to basically do what a lot of people do, or what I do whenever it's, you know, actually nice outside, to joggle my brain. I'll go for a walk and it gets, you know, if I'm stuck on something, or, you know, I'm having trouble basically like concentrating, it'll help break that barrier. And believe it or not, Minecraft is capable of doing that too. So when it's really nasty outside, I don't have to go out and, you know, whether like a blizzard or a tornado or something, I can just hop into that, and then within like 5 or 10 minutes, I'm completely bored and ready to go back to actually, and you know, busted free too, so I can go back to actually working to build something in the real world. I think 99% of the people that I interact with that play the game don't realize that's why I like it, is because I like building things in the real world. So a game where you build things is, you know, the perfect, like, I guess, relaxation and, you know, mental exercise to basically kind of, you know, like I said, to kind of break free of that, that stickiness that happens after you've been working too hard on something. You need to break away from it, think about something else for a while, and then go back with a fresh, you know, fresh view. And yeah, that's, Mose was saying something about education with gaming. Minecraft has a version that is a scientific version where basically it's used to teach kids about physics. So cuts down on the cost, although I still think people should, once they're old enough, they should have hands-on. I kind of feel we've made a huge mistake by removing science labs and stuff like that from school and workshop and whatnot. So
Yeah, my firm belief is the reason why science had advanced in the U.S. like it did a long time ago is that a long time ago every farmer had a machine shop in his barn, and it's hard for young kids to get hold of being able to make anything anymore. But 3D printing is going to change that. I use 3D printing myself a lot now, and so you can build a lot of things with 3D printing that you couldn't do, you know, even 5 years ago. So
Most people,
two things on,
yeah.
hold on, two things on that are really important before I forget, because I've got ADD and I'll probably forget what I was going to say if I don't. Number one, removing all those workshops you were talking about, all those shops and you know, tooling, makes it possible to start restricting certain items from people's hands because they can't just make it themselves anymore. Number two, that's 3D printing discussion. Part of it is why I'm so focused more than anything else on building something that not only can manufacture by deposition of just about anything to make semiconductors, not just metal or plastic, but to be able to print your own CPUs from scratch, you know, things like that, and the ability to put something you don't want anymore in there and ablate it away and take the ablated material and then separate and sort it all out and store it away so it can be reused. That way you're not trapped with a relationship with a company that makes the material that your printer uses, like you do with, say, your toner for your laser printer, or your ink for your inkjet printer, or the filament for standard filament printers, which very few have actually successfully broken out of that. Many have tinkered, but most still find that the material that they get from a manufacturer is still more reliable. So
That's really awesome. Like a lot of my inventor friends in Los Angeles, when I go visit their labs, they're all using different types of 3D printing, and they've decked it out, especially since being like trapped at home here. But I have a question. I know everybody seems to be very hardware oriented. How much is anybody using like virtual simulators at all for their work?
I haven't found anything to satisfy that well enough yet. So
I think it's
it always ends
outside.
up going back to physical.
Yeah, costs too much. One thing.
If I may add, I've played around with something called Gravity 3D CAD software in virtual reality, and it's a complete different experience. You're in the 3D CAD basically. And you can basically design anything in there and take the 3D CAD model out and manufacture it, 3D printed, or do anything. Yeah, but there are not that many of these kind of tools out there. You gotta look at it.
Have you tried the Space Mouse for 3D modeling for CAD?
No, but I've used just the like the most common 3D CAD softwares like SolidWorks and Inventor and those kind of things.
Right. So there's a mouse that you can get. It looks kind of like a dome, and you can manipulate the model using it. It's really cool. It becomes intuitive after like 5 minutes, and it gives you a real sense that you have this object in your hand. It's better than just a mouse and a keyboard.
For sure. And it's all about the interface, basically. So now with virtual reality, you have your 2 joysticks as your interface, and then you have the goggle on your nose basically sitting, which is not that comfortable. But the experience you get out of it, I think, yeah, it's complete different. Yeah, totally different. But again, it's very difficult to, like, it's like, it's like the internet, we all have access to the internet, and what, 70% usage of internet is about just perhaps junk. And it's the same thing, gaming industry, everything. Yeah. But if you look at them as tools, you can use them, you can utilize them. I think one of the best ways to open source a technology, it's to create a game and teach people about your technology.
That's a great idea. So I know there's a lot of people creating stuff in advanced propulsion, but nobody is utilizing machine learning sort of aspects in their work.
Yeah, the work I'm doing, I don't use simulators. It's the real thing.
Can you say that one more time?
I don't use simulations in my work. It's the real thing. Free space negative lenses are verified by scientific proof. They're real.
Yeah, I don't have the time to do that type of stuff when I'm trying to build hardware and do testing.
The trick is make a hologram that becomes solid like knock on your head. So
when they can do the when they can do the hollow decks like they do on Star Trek, where you can get in there and invent things in the hollow deck, then I'll be all for that. But right now, it's learning how to do that type of learning how to play those games, learning how to do the software. I've bought software that I haven't even used because I don't have the time to learn how to use the software. So all this stuff is great, but for kids who are just learning how to do things to use, it's not us old guys. We've got things to do.
And science of light, science of the physics of light.
Yeah.
Professors of optics, I call them the theoretical physicists. If you can make a hologram to take on the same traits as a solid object can, like if you look at the Jet Galaxy M87, it's got 2 jets coming out of it, but it's got 2 half spheres there. Nothing gets in, everything comes out. You run into that half sphere, it's like running into a brick wall. So the same free space negative lens that you can use and bore holes in the solid rock with is the same free space negative lens. They can make light into a solid state. If you try flying a missile into it, it's like running into a brick wall. It's our national missile defense system. But the same free space negative lenses they use for their National Missile Defense System, they use it to bore holes in rock, is the same free space negative lenses they use to manipulate gravity. Because this two halves of the atoms, what's in between it, it doesn't produce any force or anything. It's got a hole in it, but it doesn't produce a force. That's why objects can float through free space. If you read in the Bible that the people marched a 2-day march behind the Ark of the Covenant, and they knew which way it was because it had an eerie light in the sky by night and a pillar of blackness by day. But if you look at these jets, these military jets, they got a black line coming out of the front of it. I've got videos that can show you the same black line, and what causes that is free space negative lenses. They're shooting these missiles down out of the sky because they make this light turn into a solid state. If that missile runs into it, it just blows up. But you can also use it in a different way to manipulate the gravitational force. My make or break experiment that I'm trying to get going. And you got to be able to make a 3-dimensional, a 360-degree hologram of a free space negative lens and get the microwave particle to go in it. And once it forms a hologram, it don't move back. It stands right there in first space. And if you put something on top of it, an object will rest on it. I can take this pencil and tap it on my finger, it'll make a clicking noise. If I take it and I can balance it and it'll sit there. You can put 20,000 pounds on top of this free space negative lenses and it won't back off one bit. It'll sit there and levitate. It's got an air gap between them.
Is that what it is? Air gap right here. Like, like hologram. There you go. Here it is. That's it. Magic it. That's what it is.
Now they're not holograms, they're free space negative lenses. They're just as real as anything else we find in the universe. Been verified by science.
That you just described, a situation, and I proved it to you, right there.
Now this is not a toy. Hello?
It is a toy. It's a toy. Yeah, it's a cool toy. It's one of the coolest toys. Like, like I bought my kids one and I liked it so much I bought one for myself. Seriously, it's so cute. Like, it's one of the coolest toys. Like, it converts into like different shapes, but it's still the same units. Doesn't change, just reconfigures. Cool, right?
Is it an optical equipment?
No, it's a description, scale sized to comprehension, to learning, to understanding, the smallest of small possibilities in spaces, and you can say whatever you want to say, but what difference does it make from anything else that you're describing?
There's two kinds of lights. There's ray optics, then there's plasma energy. Plasma energy can bend. It don't go in a straight line.
I make cars disappear. I can move stars. I can shift things. So yeah, if you're talking about like, biological components, not machines, not additives, not little things.
Can you make them cards disappear?
Yeah.
Can you make a light can you make a light form in the darkest part of the shadow?
Yes. I've actually synthesized one time like a cat popped out of just thin nothing. Like it was stone. It was right there. But it was so like in my yard, like, it was in there that I stared at it for such a long time that something came out. Sometimes I looked at the ground and like I felt like there is like a hole in the ground with like but it just, things come out. Like sometimes a bee one time like came out one time. I was walking in a straight angle, another critter like, but you could tell it came into the like my visual concentration. I've had orbs like follow me. If the orbs come when my children are close too. You understand? They're so curious. They're so curious about everything that maybe I do, or that I teach them, or like I try to make them understand how it is, and I give them the things to play with their own things, like do it, like show me, like this is what happens, stuff like that. And whenever I'm doing all this stuff, they appear like you could see them. They fluctuate. Like I'm telling you, I have videos, but I don't know, they just got buried into my photos or old phones, but I've recorded them. I'm like, look, see, look, zoom in, zoom in, like just to prove it, move, this is who's here on this time, this day, like try to, at the most, like try to, anything that is in my observation as a timeline of this happened then, I tried to my best of abilities.
A timeline, order of operation, the path in which it traveled.
It was first in the air. I started like there, and then, but I wanted to document.
I'll be in. Thank you. I gotta go eat lunch. I'll see y'all guys later. You got the whole show to yourself. Talk all you want.
I'll have dinner or lunch.
I gotta go eat.
I love science. It bypasses everything. It bends things.
Oh my God. We'll pull this one.
Lulu. Remember, Noel is just the name I was forced, to write on paperwork or things, but the real person is what I like to be, not what was dictated on me. Get it? Show me what you're working on. I'm gonna come to the lab. I decided I'm gonna come to the lab. You said you needed a second pair of hands. Yeah, I've got them.
I have a second pair of hands coming on Monday.
And don't say you need some. Don't broadcast wrong information.
Well, if I had it right now, I'd be able to finish setting up that experiment, but unfortunately I don't. I'm rewiring the throttle right now.
Let me tell you something. I talked to yesterday. I was live on, with, Jeremy and everybody else, and there's a discrepancy in timeline. Like you guys are describing the thing that happened in Canada, like in 2015, but it's being broadcasted as now. So you tell me, like this is a current event happening. I tried to track whoever it is. There's like, it's like a whole convoy, stop. But the news is saying that it's a vaccine thing and it's rat poison. And so there's a whole protest or like, not letting these things move from wherever they are. So that's one. And then go back to the digital size and analysis, somebody mentioned Minecraft. Well, what a coincidence. They're saying, on one hand, you hear somebody saying rat poison vaccine. And then on the other hand, you hear a code being made with a Minecraft of a rat. So how entangled are the vaccines to code? Well, what if somebody's putting a cryptograph of a small rat, but it's really a virus that starts technologically and it gets synthesized into, the so-called vaccine, because this vaccine is a machine that made it. It's still a code, still quantities. We don't know what it's made of. And so how do you reconcile, one day apart, but you guys are describing 5 years? Like it's very hard to who's right and who's not? Are we, you know, which timeline, which time zone? Like, you know, we're having discussions in this conference, but yesterday I had this discussion with you know, the people that, like, let's call them my age group. Let's call them my, like, you know, timeline vision, like people that I could, you know, so like, you know, okay. And then you have these, you guys like the systemized systems, and their news is like 5 years outdated, huh? You know, are they trying to derive what's the timeline in order to update themselves? I mean, that was the only thing that would make sense. If we're like dipping in the zeros, it's like old systems getting activated, dormant things, tapping in. And they only get activated when it's below the. I mean, listen, I'm a nobody. I'm a nobody. I'm just a human on this planet that really, like, I don't gain anything, you know, by talking. Yeah, I mean, if I could describe to you what nothing is, it really is nothing. I just, when you have nothing to lose, you say, you know, whatever you learned, whatever you learned in this life. And, you know, if whatever you learned in this life is not true, then, you know, whatever, you know, whatever, keep doing what you're doing. But at the end of the day, it's going to cause, like, you know, an imbalance. You know, good for you. Like, you know, keep on eliminating. At the end, like, you know, I don't think good things will happen. You know what I mean? It's just, you're building off of not, I don't know how to say it, outdated things. Not looking up to the stars. You keep on, like, digging into the ground in the past, not future. You know, like, let the past be past. You know, propellant is forward, 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 forward. You know, I always thought of this idea. If I'm driving, I should never look at my back rear view mirror, because if I do, that energy reflects and tugs me back and back in time. So if I don't rely on the reflection, my rear view mirror, it will actually, I'll propel forward. And if I get stopped, you know, my logical explanation will be that, you know, they're violating the rights to, you know, why should I look in the past? Who looks in the past? We're living, you know, so you look forward, 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 never in the past. Past is just, you know, fading memories, nothing else. Tap into those. You know, we're evolving, not regressing, evolving. So, you know, I say what you want to say. I believe what I want to believe. I know, you know, more than that, but yeah. Built the mission already. I want to fly. My gosh, you guys are such slowpos.
Talking about flying, I'm wiring up a throttle for my paramotor right here.
Is that the thing you strap on your shoulders and you go into a field, you run and, like, you fly it? Okay,
Yeah.
I had a friend that had one of those. Like, I was there, I videotaped it, like, you know, but I wanted to go, but they wouldn't take responsibility. Like, he wouldn't take responsibility. I was pregnant. Like, I was like, you know, like almost 8 months pregnant. I wanted to fly this thing. And so he wouldn't, you know, but I always wanted to, you know, yeah.
Yeah, well, you're talking about flying. This is the, you know, this is what I've already got. I've been doing it for 6 years.
Cool stuff.
Is anyone else still there?
It looks like there's 14 people.
Yeah,
I'm still here, just listening. But if nothing changes, I may leave in a little bit.
Yeah, same here.
It's time to watch anime.
There we go.
Which anime do you watch?
I watch a whole bunch, but I couldn't really tell you a lot of their names. I don't root. I just watch them. I don't root. I'm not a fan of any one of them. I tend to watch. I like the ones where people have been transferred. You know, they die and they go to another place and have magic and stuff like that, but they retain their memories of their previous lives. Those are the ones I tend to like the best. Or they get stuck in a game like with that Sword Art Online. That's pretty cool. But I stay away from anything that's horror or anything in anime.
It's mostly a Japanese genre, right?
There's actually Chinese too. I run across a few every now and then that the background language is Mandarin. So, but yeah, most of them are Japanese. I've seen a few European ones too. I think I've even seen a Russian one once.
Oh, that's gonna be interesting.
I like the cartoons. Like the other day I saw this, it's called a CGI video. My God.
What's funny about Russian is you can't tell whether they're screaming at each other or sending love notes.
No, this was like like kids could watch this. Like I sent it to my kids. I told them like, hey, listen, the possibility of a core is like a DNA structure. And by certain oscillations, it activates itself. And so
Is that what you told your kids?
I'm
the oscillation and the DNA structure.
I'm gonna send it to you guys, but it's the cutest little video. Like I swear to God, it's the cutest little video. It's like you could explain to somebody that doesn't understand anything, like the possibilities of dimensional beings. Like I swear to God, it's really cute. I'll share it if you guys like. It's supposedly won like the award #1 for CGIs, for the futuristic visions, and because I watched it and I thought, like, my gosh, like, really, really, it's adorable.
I watch anime because they're different from cartoons. To me, American cartoons are the stupidest thing that they ever invented. I don't know why we allow our kids to watch American cartoons. Animes are done more like real life movies. They're animes. I have laughed, I cried, and with watching anime, but I've never done that with cartoons. Cartoons are just silly. Now, what you're talking about, Lulu, is something where you're trying to teach somebody something. That's maybe even if it's done in a cartoon form, it's still a learning tool rather than a cartoon. But if you're watching a cartoon and the characters are being shot and then they get back up, that's wrong, and that's something you're teaching your kids something wrong. And typically in animes, if you get shot, the only way you come back is through some kind of magic that they happen to have, where they cure you.
This one's like on a different like dimensional level. This is like I don't know how to explain it. Like making something with just oscillations, like tapping it with like a two little thing, and then the whole thing vibrates and it just activates. And if it's a planet, it starts life. If it's not a planet, it diffuses. If it's just by certain harmonic points of oscillation, like it's really cool. Like my gosh, like you know what, I'm gonna like do this whole route and I'm gonna send it along. I'm gonna share it. Let me just know how, let me for a minute think how I'm gonna transfer that data from one phone to another, so and you'll understand what I'm talking about. It's called multi, like 1-star, 2-star, multi-dash award dash winning star CGI. All right, here we go. Let's start this. Let's see, how do we send this to?
Are you guys keeping track of what's happening in Ukraine?
if I want to read what I read on MSN on the computer. I don't watch any news or anything. So I quit watching TV a long time ago. If I don't see it on my computer, I don't know anything about it.
I don't know anyone who watches TV anymore.
I just got to the point where everything I was watching, I could watch on the internet. So why do I need to pay for cable? And almost all the news is through the cable. So if I don't see it on MSN, I don't know nothing about it. And a lot of the stuff on MSN is repeated for a month. So I even stopped even looking at it most days. I have a weather app on my phone, so I don't have to watch the weather.
I got a weather app on my watch, so I don't have to look at my phone.
Yeah.
But you know what the West weather app is? Just looking outside.
Yeah.
You notice how kids today would like ask them, how is it outside? Instead of looking out the window, they look at their phone.
Yeah, I got up one morning, I looked outside and we had about 4 inches of snow and it's like, where did that happen?
That's right. You guys got a couple storms this winter.
Yeah, we had one good day of snow. It went away pretty fast. We're lucky to have, I don't know, a week of snow down here, if we have that much. What's funny is if you go 30 miles north from here, they get snow like crazy. The temperatures drop down into the teens for weeks. Where down here we might get it for a few days. It changes. It's like there's a line that you could draw from like Corinth, Mississippi to right below Nashville. And if you go west over that line, the weather's really bad in the winter. But if you stay south of that line, it's like it is here in Huntsville.
Great.
And that line goes all the way up to you guys, and you're above that line probably.
We have a line like that over here. They call it the I-95 corridor.
It's probably due to the Tennessee River causing updrafts that keep the weather away.
Well, I was going to say, yes, I have been paying attention to what's going on in Ukraine, and then Zoom crashed. You hear me now?
Oh yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, great. Okay, good.
Yeah,
I listen to the BBC's World News podcast like daily. So it sounds like, well, I mean, for a long time, since like 2014 or even before 2014, the Russian government has been funding rebels in the eastern part of Ukraine near the peninsula of Crimea, which they annexed illegally in violation of international laws and was condemned by the UN. Which seems mostly like they wanted the seaports. Vladimir Putin was a member of the KGB in the 1990s during the Soviet Union. And so he's kind of still in favor of rebuilding the Soviet Union and regaining all of the countries that they lost. So just recently in Belarus, they've been doing various military activities where there've been various people on Twitter, especially videoing Russian military trains coming into Belarus and going into the southern end of Belarus on near the border of Ukraine. So there's a large military buildup in the western part of Ukraine on the other side of the border where the Russian military is building up. And they're also doing the same thing on the near the border of Belarus where they're doing some sort of military war games.
They shot down one of their own satellites, like right when the International Space Station was, in the danger zone. So,
Yeah.
like, what did they want to eliminate? What is that want to call it the backup drive. What was that segment in time they want to delete?
Yeah, we don't know why exactly they did that, other than they were obviously testing their capability for doing that.
Okay, so listen to the second thing. Like you've got, SpaceX, his stuff is falling out of the sky. The last thing that I read, 40 out of 49 that were deployed fell out of the sky. So
Right.
it's a connection. Like, he's trying to create an oscillation between one flying object to, another flying object to establish an orbital link. It's called Starlink. So you wonder, what that meant.
Actually, that was from a solar storm changing the density of the atmosphere. So the atmosphere rose up and they were not supposed to be flying through atmosphere and they couldn't overcome the drag and they fell to Earth.
Yep.
But billions of dollars are being spent. You don't think they had, the margins for that resonance, like for it to withstand?
So what else is happening in Ukraine? Do you think it's going to go to war?
Probably a lot of raves.
Well,
like the free souls, like they party, they don't care.
Ooh, let them talk.
You think they care? Like they're like, yeah, you keep on fighting, we're gonna keep on listening, to like, and a lot of the coolest music comes from those places. Really, yeah. So I know, I listen to.
Oh, man. Okay. Oh yeah, so there've been a lot of meetings with like the president of France and the prime minister of the United Kingdom and president of the United States with the president of Russia, and negotiations are not exactly going well. I mean, Russia says that they're doing it because they're
so
against.
bored, they don't know what to do anymore. Like,
Well, they're against NATO.
No, I think the younger generation overrules, like their mind capacities, like, the archaic ones. But the new generation is like, yeah, know what you're gonna do. Put your rules. We're gonna like.
Yeah. So what happened with the talks?
They kind of stalled out. They didn't really get anywhere. Russia's big thing is that they think NATO is a threat, and to them, on the other hand, NATO is, for the most part, it's a defensive alliance. So the fact that Russia is trying to use military power in order to fight NATO will only, I mean, it's sort of a catch-22. They're sort of screwing themselves in the process. If they'd actually back off from the borders, they'd have less of a problem with it.
Tell me something. Do you see borders? Do you see like when you just, do you really? I don't. And I come from everywhere. So, if anything, I probably might understand what border, but really, look at the younger generation. They don't care. They don't care. Like you can put every rule in the book and every sign on the wall and every little thing. They don't care, because, like, yeah, you live those rules. I'm not. Yeah.
You're crazy. You're crazy, lady.
Thank you, Josh.
No.
You're crazy. I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean it in a fun way.
All right, thank you. But I swear to God, I'm not crazy. I know, like, if we need to propel the future, we invest in the future. They see different concepts.
She's extra crazy today. I mean, this is unusual even for Lulu.
This is Lulu on top of
because
Lulu.
I started to.
This is Lulu squared.
Yeah.
Like a game when I was younger, I used to play, and my name was what? E. Never knew, but it just always it rung to me like, E to eat. And it was a game. I played it like I was this character, and my siblings, knew that. But then I didn't understand what that meant. It was just a code that, but it's actually an energy field. That's the truth. So how do you like all of a sudden like, oh, that's what that meant? Yeah, it just clicks. Get it? U squared. There you go.
Lulu squared.
Yeah. Hey, Lulu, I just saw
Not
that.
not in not in a chance. I will always like, like go through like anything, That's the fun part about science.
Hey, Lulu, I just saw that video you posted. That's like those sci-fi films they have on YouTube, those dust films. I wouldn't classify it as a cartoon. It's more like an anime.
So see, it's not like the Japanese ones you're thinking. This is like really cute. Like it's just there's no ethnic identity in the anime. It's everybody could like associate with that. There's no
Yeah.
borderlines.
Have
Get
you
it?
watched any of those dust films on YouTube?
Listen, for me, it was just like I was doing a search from a search, and it just got me to something, and like, oh, this is cool. Like, okay, let me click on this. What does this mean? Like, it's not like I know what I'm, but it just like it trickles that, from one thing that I catch from one video, and then like, okay, what does that mean? Then you go to that, and you're like, okay, oh my, and then you reach to like a point where like, oh, okay, I want to share this one, Otherwise, just I take snap images, like pictures, like, okay, just as, if I flip through, I'll remember, like something. Yeah, I felt like there's something important, so I keep, a record, like there's something there. But as the conversations go, and these things, I can't like ask every 2 seconds, but I'll just keep a note of interest that, okay, there's something here. Remember, things like that.
Yeah, but most of these little short films that are on YouTube, especially the ones by Dusk, are done by college students, which is interesting. But if you search DUST on YouTube, there's probably thousands of their sci-fi videos now on YouTube. Some of them are interesting, some of them are not, but they're kind of cool to watch.
I mean, this one, I'm telling you, my search led me to this one. So it was like a pattern, like I didn't go search them. I didn't know like these students. I was searching an idea. I was searching like a word. And from one word to another, it led me to this, like, oh, okay, you could see all these, like who commented on this, like, oh, okay, cool. What's this, like, my gosh, this is beyond awesome. Like things like that.
Yeah, it's a lot better searching the internet now than it used to be. When the internet first started up, almost every link could take you to a sex site, but nowadays it doesn't.
I don't have those problems.
No, this is like 20 years ago. In fact, if you typed in whitehouse.com, it'd take you to a porn site. I don't know if it still does or not.
No, it doesn't. Thankfully. I know what you're talking about, though. In the 1990s, the internet was a different place.
I know. I was at work one day, working for NASA, and I was going to look for something at the White House. And instead of typing whitehouse.gov, I typed whitehouse.com, and all these porn pictures shot. So I immediately had to shut it down so I wouldn't get in trouble.
Right? You're like, oh no, what did I just do?
Yeah, but yeah, it was horrible. But back then, I haven't had that trouble, in recent years. But like I said, 20 years ago when it first started, it was horrible with porn sites.
The search engines worked much differently then. They're actually a lot better now.
But like I was saying, all you guys, if you go on YouTube and search for Dust, D-U-S-T, there's a lot of good little sci-fi videos that you can watch. And it looks like this one that Lulu found is something called CGI animated shorts. So they're like the Dust films. I hadn't seen them before. There's several of them showing up here under her video she did.
Dust, that's the name of the YouTube channel?
I put
I don't know
it.
if it's channel or not, but all the Dust films, I don't know what it may be an acronym for something, but all these Dust films are done by college students who are getting degrees in film.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
there's a Dust YouTube channel.
One, their presentation has to be a teaching tool. you know, so it's students and it's not for profit. Like animes are for profit. They're not meant as a teaching tool, you know, but this one is meant as a teaching tool, you know, so it's like students made it. Like they're not going to graduate if it's not made scientifically, like, you know, and it appeases to all tastes.
Josh,
Yeah.
Josh, where are you from? Do I know you?
I'm from Minnesota. So no, you only know me from here.
Oh, okay. I guess I know somebody with a similar name.
Okay. Really? Yeah. Josh Rising. There are a few of us. I'm not the only
I know
Josh.
lots of Joshes. I don't remember all their last names. That's why I was
Sure.
wondering.
Sure. Oh, so last thing about Ukraine. The United States has threatened economic sanctions against Ukraine, including like denying bank transfers, or not against Ukraine, against Russia, like denying bank transfers against from Russia to the United States and that sort of thing. And Russia has threatened to stop shipping natural gas and gasoline to Europe. And they're the primary supplier of fossil fuels to Europe, especially Germany. But fossil fuels are just about Russia's only export. So if they stop shipping to their largest customer, their economy is going to take a massive hit. So hopefully Russia's going to back down.
You know, that I was reading something and the bill. I'm telling you, the gas lines, if you create a chamber, a compression, you can turn it into gasoline. So all of us that we have the natural utility lines, if we could create a device that could compressionize that, you know, gas and get it really like tight and legal, you can synthesize gasoline that you pump your car with just from your natural gas line. That's science.
Germany's trying to get rid of their dependence on oil. If you go over there now, you'll see a lot of windmills over there, but they're trying to go to, you know, solar and wind and anything else they can find to get rid of the gas.
Yeah, it's a big national mandate.
Yeah.
I mean, this is like, it's being published, you know, part of science, you know, and on my bill, my electric bill, like I was reading and I thought, my gosh, this is beyond cool. Like it's being given out. Nobody decides to read that. Like, is it telling us like, hey, you have that right, even though I'm a utilities company, like you could, like, this is what the possibilities of what gas is. So what, like, do I go take this and say, hey, you know, this is like a public thing. Can I show me how do I do this? Like, you know, is that what it is? Yeah, it's just like what we're paying for light, we're paying for everything. And it's right there. Listen, knowledge is all around us. You just have to understand it. Like, where, you mean, I believe I should have the right for that. And there you go. That's, you know, synthesized free energy, because gas is beyond abundant to generate, you know, for your stove, to your dryer, to your water heater, to your, like, it's one of the easiest processes of creating.
Free energy is not free. Even solar panels on your house, if you have major problems every year, you can end up running into major dollars every year and end up not breaking even. When I built my new house, I looked into that and I said, you know, this thing costs this much money. If I have to buy one every year, I'm not saving money.
Yep.
I'm going to be paying about the same every year. So I decided not to go that route because I don't trust the technology that goes into all this. You know, people have problems with replacing batteries. You know, batteries not cheap. About $100 a piece, and you need about 100 of them for your house. You know, so I don't trust it yet. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, I got solar credits instead of solar panels, so maintaining them is somebody else's problem. And it's cheaper than electricity from the electric company, so I'm saving a little bit of money on it, and I can feel good about it.
Yeah. I look at the difference between what I'm saving and how much hassle I have to go through, because, you know, my time and spent on stuff is worth more most of the time than what I would be saving on some things. So
I disagree with you, but whatever.
I don't do surveys because of that. People send me these surveys to fill out. I said, well, you're not paying me to do it. I'm not doing it. You got that flying yet, Mark?
I've been flying for 5 years.
Oh, I thought you just bought it.
No, I'm just doing some midwinter maintenance. So yeah, I've been flying for quite a while. Actually, I'll post some videos, and these are not to be shared. These are just like some private videos of, I fly in over here in Jersey at the beach. Let me see if I can get it. Your channel. Videos. Okay, here. 1 second. Make this full screen. So this is me with this motor at the beach. You hear the wind, basically waiting for a nice breeze. So the wind is coming in off the ocean. The motor's running, but it has a clutch. So the propeller isn't turning. That's this unit over here. This was last summer, I believe. And I'm just waiting for a nice little breeze. I'm facing the wing. So this is called a reverse launch, where you have all the lines like in an X, and you get it up, control it, and turn around and run and take off. We're
So
just about ready.
So you don't run and take off, you're just waiting for wind.
Well, I'm waiting for wind to be able to lift it up, and then you run and take off.
I've heard people take these and jump off the mountains in the Rocky Mountains and fly for like hundreds of miles.
There's some flybys I did of the camera.
Those power lines look dangerous.
They're pretty far away. They look closer than they are. There's another flyby.
How high did you get with that thing?
As high as you want to go.
No, how high did you get to?
I'm not trying to go high. I'm trying to go low, actually.
She's asked you how high have you been in that thing?
I said as high as you want to go, but you really don't want to go high. You want to go low.
No,
Actually,
you personally, how far high have you been?
I've been probably about 3,000 feet.
Jeez.
That's cool.
Here, this is a camera on my foot as I was doing some sharp turns over the beach.
Look at this guy.
Like the sky's going in circles.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, becoming parallel with a 90-degree angle. Like, my gosh.
It's
That's the
camera.
Jersey Shore in October.
That looks like a really tight spiral, unless it's just the camera angle, but you look like you're, at least like at a 45-degree angle to the ground.
It was probably more like 70-degree angle to the ground. Well,
Wow.
it's pretty tight. That's pretty tight. It you can do wing overs. That's where you go above 90 degrees, and then you're like spiraling down to the earth. And you could pick up like serious G's. Like it's a built-in roller coaster.
Wow.
It's a lot of fun, but you got to do that at you got to pick up some height first, because you're going to lose a lot of height doing a spiral.
Right. You don't want to crash.
No, you don't want to crash. But safety wise, it's safer than a motorcycle, hour for hour.
Oh, really?
Yep. Yeah. You're actually like very unlikely to die even if you crashed in the worst way possible. It's very unlikely that you'll die because you're not going very fast.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, there have been fatalities. One of the biggest fatality issues in the beginning was drowning, because the motor is so heavy, it doesn't float.
Right.
Then they invented this, which is the Paramotor Float. And this has a CO2 cartridge in it, along with a sensor, a water sensor, and it automatically becomes your life vest if you land in water. So I always make sure to have one of these on when I'm flying.
Sure.
Over water.
Yeah, Navy pilots have died because their chutes pulled them underwater.
Yeah.
You have to watch out for the chute itself.
Yeah, the chute, everything get tangled. That's true with paragliding as well. But that was the main killer. It wasn't crashing, it was drowning early on. But nowadays, I haven't heard of a single person drowning in a long time. There is problems where the motor gets stuck on full throttle, and which is actually I'm replacing the throttle control right now. So I put an extra spring in there to make
There's
sure
so
that
many gadgets that you could wear that are weightless and that their drowning won't happen. Like, like one of those like floaty things, like under.
Yeah, that's what we were just showing. I have like an automatic inflating vest that attaches to the motor. When it touches the water, it actuates a CO2 cartridge to inflate the entire vest.
I've seen stuff like this, they make like helmets out of them, detects, a thing, the thing just like automatically inflates, like to become a helmet, like it's like a thing they wear, a little collar, like,
Oh yeah, I always wear a helmet. It has my aviation stuff in it too, like that.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool little gadgets.
Yeah, you can talk to the control tower. Also, my watch has GPS and the navigation information, so I could fly from airport to airport on it.
That one of them Apple watches that'll call 911 when you fall out?
No, it's a Garmin watch actually. There's a couple good apps on Garmin for paramotor flight pilots, and it's much more convenient because like with a phone, you got gloves on, your hands are doing stuff, but if you can just always look at your watch though and see what's going on, so it's much better than a phone. Yeah,
that's a pretty cool hobby.
It's an amazing hobby. It kept me sane through lots of crazy shit that's been going on in my life. Yeah, I actually just found out that one of the business owners down the block also flies. He came down earlier today and was showing me his setup. But yeah, this time of year, there's not much flyable weather. So everyone starts to get antsy and, goes on to Facebook and starts chatting with other pilots because they just can't fly unless you're in South Florida.
They have a balloon race in Decatur, which is not far from here. once a year. And so during that time, you'll see all these balloons flying over my house heading towards Decatur, all different colors and stuff.
Oh, it's a lot of fun to fly paramotor with hot air balloons, because that's good weather for paramotor pilots too.
Do you need a license for that? Like there's a skydiving license. You don't need a license?
No.
That's pretty cool.
No, it's an ultralight airplane. So it's part 103C of the FAA code.
Okay.
And you don't need a license for it. I mean, the airplane literally weighs 65 pounds.
Right.
You weigh more than the airplane.
Yeah, they're not worried about you crashing into somebody's house like they are with airplanes.
Oh, sure.
Right, right, yeah. There's not that much damage you can do with paramotor. You can only fly it in pretty fair weather too. So, and that usually happens when the temperature is like stable for that time of year. So in the winter, flyable days are in the 30s and 40s. In the summer, flyable days are like in the 80s or whatever, time of the summer that is. But whenever there's a like extra warm day during the winter or extra cold day during the summer, you're going to have lots of gusts of wind and you can't fly in that time. So the best time to fly is actually in the spring and fall. But it's not temperature dependent. It's really weather.
And also
wind
if the
dependent.
field is cut, because you need somewhere where you could run. I watched it. I saw them. If the brushes are like higher, and then he would go back and have to rerun because the surface that you're running.
Yeah,
on,
you don't want any like dead twigs getting caught in your kite.
Yes.
I know a guy who built a helicopter back in the late 60s, and the FAA came and told him that he couldn't fly it. So he asked him, well, how high can I fly without getting in trouble? And they told him tree high. So he tied a rope to it so it wouldn't go above tree height and just kind of flew around in a circle in his backyard.
That's awesome.
Helicopters are very dangerous. They're actually small airplanes like Cessnas and stuff are more dangerous than paramotors because they can't land anywhere. Like with a paramotor, if you have an engine out, you can land in somebody's backyard surrounded by trees. It's a lot easier to land than it is to take off. Taking off, you need a lot of space. But for landing, you can, there's certain tricks you can play with the kite that you can make it go almost, you could turn it into a windsock by pulling the center lines. And that's called a B stall. And you just come down straight and then you release it right at the bottom and you'll come in for a nice glide landing.
Just like a regular parachute, right?
You're flying a parachute. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're pretty much flying a parachute. Yeah. This motor is just to push you. You're a paraglider with a motor on your back. That's what it is.
It's the coolest thing. I saw it in real life. Like I'm telling you, it's like things like my gosh, I'm telling you, I've
done it in real life. I can take up a tandem too. I have a tandem set up for 2 people.
I went tandem skydiving a long time ago.
Yeah, I did that too.
I went parasailing, like on a boat with a string, and it has like a couch you sit on, and with a like a parachute or that, and then the boat goes faster, the thing starts to and then it's just by a rope, small rope, and they extend it and you just fly, but it still has that, it's cool. I could feel the, know the feeling, but in a different kind of setting.
The worst flying thing I ever did was flying from Guantanamo Bay, Cuba to about 50 miles out to the aircraft carrier in a Navy helicopter.
No, I'm talking the one with risk. Like this one, I'm like on a
No.
string.
No,
not
flying in a Navy helicopter is a big risk.
on, like archaic flying, without any control. Like the control is a string that is on a rail, like on a boat that is going, I don't know who the driver is. I don't know if that little thing is safe. Nothing, just to complete like, all right, let's do it, Yeah,
Also,
I've been on helicopters twice. Planes, I don't know. I've lost count. I don't know. Like a lot.
Also was in a passenger plane that landed on an aircraft carrier twice too. That was fun. That's like probably more dangerous than the helicopter.
Did it get you excited about life? If it did, then
No, unfortunately I don't have a very strong empathy gene, so everything stuff like that just don't excite me. My 2 marriages can account for that. I'm not very empathetic.
No, I didn't ask about your marriages. I'm not asking you about being empathetic. I'm asking you about you as a human being. You're telling me all this cool stuff. Like, I'm asking you, how did it make you feel? Like, were you like, if you were excited and you're interested in that, then yeah, definitely your marriages are going to fail. I mean, that's just
No, I just don't get excited about stuff. It's almost
Listen,
like
my
everything
marriage failed.
I've done, I've already done it, even though I haven't done it.
My marriage failed, but and it was over 20 years of marriage, of life, children, you name it.
I'll tell you one thing, if my marriage hadn't failed.
It didn't not make me wanna, still get excited
If
about
my
life.
marriage hadn't failed, this
Experience.
conference wouldn't exist.
It's not about marriage failing. It's about
No, it is. Like my ex would throw out my science books in the neighbor's garbage so I wouldn't be able to find them. She was like completely, she was pro-gravity, put it that way. I was anti-gravity. She was pro-gravity.
Yeah, my first wife was like that. She, if I laid something down for more than a few days, she'd throw it away. It's like, well, you didn't want it. It's like, I just.
Oh no, she threw it out because I would read it every day. Not, it was the other way around.
I'm the one that gets pissed off when they throw things because I like the time stamping factor on them, like to know what times that things are coming in from. And everybody else thinks this is garbage. Like, no, there are things like there have codes, like it gives you that time, and embedded into the mailing system. Like they just rip and throw it. Like it drives me nuts. They want to go into the receipts, like everything, and then okay, but your receipts can be tampered with, but things I hold in my hand, they're not tampered with because I'm holding it in my hand. Things like that.
But you just get to an age where you don't really need a spouse. You need somebody who can work along beside you, do the same things you do. It's
called your best friend or a friend or somebody that you really enjoy, a certain idea or a certain vision or belief or, space and time and space, whatever you call it, whatever this our group is about, whatever connected us like that, common thing, that would be it. Other than that, we're talking about something out of the ordinary, and that's all. If it's not out of the ordinary, then it gets bored and it becomes an X, such as ex-spouses. I don't mean it in the degradation of the spouse, because I decided when I got married to have my genetic line from this human being, because this human being had the qualities that I would want if I had children, to have, because that was what attracted me to that person. So, but it doesn't mean if it fails after a while, maybe the factor of I was younger, he was a bit older, I haven't lived that, and then you grow as an intellect and you understand that there is a different, interest. We don't have to follow, our interest exactly down to the thing, one spouse might have an interest in something that you could care less about, but the gap sometimes becomes so big that you guys both speak two different languages. And that's the truth. I become so immersed in this topics that when I talk normal conversations, it becomes that. And so they're like, the people around me think that, they don't want to say no, falsify because they don't know. And at the same time, I'm not understandable to them anymore because my mind is always, thinking of that possibility, that existence. And day in and day out, it gets proven, especially with this conference group. This conference group has really proved to me that time is an idea. It's not an actual numerical time, but it's an idea. When that same idea, everybody thinks about it at the same time, it becomes a moment in time. How many people, how much energy power do you need for something to, and that is scaled on the energy of pulses or lights or how many things could you, enough of that opens up to the whole science of it. I learned a lot in my life. I learned physics, but I learned science and equations, but I swear to God, I just learned them. I didn't know. Now when you guys are doing these presentations, I'm like, oh, I know that one. I learned that one, but I didn't know that meant that. Get it? Old memories of knowledge, when I'm seeing the visuals, I remembered yeah, I learned this. I've seen this. I remember this. Yeah, and that means that too. And, I had you don't understand, in one of the hardest regions in the world where the 0 is a dot instead of a circle, do you understand? R0 is an O. No, whatever you want. Their 0 is a dot, and I still have to do mathematics in that. And so all my equations, I would forget that, because 0 means 5 in that language. Get it? So when I would see their 5, I would think it's a 0, so I would continue with the 0 factor. You get it? English numbers, the 10 is a 1 and a 0. The 1 and a 0, and let's say Arabic numbers, but 1 is still 1, but the 0 is a 5. But for us, when we learn the 0 is a, no, when we're doing the mathematics, it would always drive me nuts. Because, and then I had to go back to, the Ministry of Education there, and contest it. So I said, you have to do the, because my understanding, this is my upbringing, this is how I saw it. Even there was some question about the word cell. But I had to write it in Arabic, and I didn't I couldn't remember it for the love of God, and I couldn't remember, so I wrote it in English. I said, I don't care, and I drew it, and I said, you better mark this as if you know anything about science, you should understand it's still okay, even if I don't put it in there, I just couldn't remember that. I contested these things, and I went back into the records, and they gave me the points for it. You know how much I scored? 59 out of 60. So, I don't say 60 out of 60, but truly, yes, I did. Science is universal. It's in every language, we could go biblical back, we could go pictographs, with encryptions, we could go all of this stuff, but we left evidence, continuous evidence, everywhere. And part of even the picture in your lab, that's evidence of a timeline of an existence when that is. If somebody is able to see, analyze these things, then it will create an energy field, hologram of existence in time. you know, like I understand the possibility of science. I really do. And I really, really like hope it's used in the most positive, I don't know, like of intentions. Never, you know, you guys talk about weaponry, you guys talk about like always these like negative, like, no. Why is it always like, I don't know, like one person wants to tug on a corner too much? You know, like it's how am I going to explain it to you better? Or if somebody is understanding what I'm saying, like, you know, I cannot exist on this platform if there's not a fundamental. No way.
Hey,
That's just-
Mark, you need to ask how many people are actually still here, because there's 12
Well-
people here, but only 4 people talking. Because I'm about ready to go.
How many people are listening to the Lulu Rambles? I don't know. Mike Ashton, are you there? Matt, Mike Dubik, Abraham, Shmuel S has been there from the beginning. I don't know if that's my brother. Oh, Matt Ashton is listening. Thomas Anderson, I think he's in the background. Tim Ventura
Yeah,
went
you
out.
remind me of Einstein. You remind me of like younger Einstein. That's what you remind
Thank
me
you.
of.
Harold
It's and perfect.
Tavar, I don't know if he's there.
I think I'm gonna go ahead and get off. There's not too many people really on.
All right.
We'll see you next time.
Bye,
Hey, did
Glenn.
you get?
Thank you.
Yeah. Hey,
I
Mark,
like,
did
I like to,
emails?
listen, I say something, it means I like to explore the possibility. I don't mean it in a disrespectful way. I swear, you know, on what, you know, like, don't ever take offense, but it's more like, could that possibility exist? You know, like that.
it sounds like you're doing therapy really when you do these talks.
It's not therapy. No, it's the possibility of compartmentalizing memory, like science,
Uh-huh.
like, you get it?
Yeah, but it's really almost therapeutic to listen to this stuff though, so. All right, we'll see you guys.
Bye, Glenn.
Bye.
So you said that in Arabic, the Arabic numbering system, like the way it's written, 5 is 0 and 0 is 5. That's just the way the numbers are written.
No. Yes.
Yeah.
R0 is their 5.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure I was following that correctly.
Yeah. So, and the ones are the same. So you've got already like 2 digits, you know what I mean, that are same. So the ones you can't mess up, but the 0, like it gets like you keep counting as a 5. Whoops. You know what I
Right.
mean?
So you're just blowing through the math as fast as possible and just did it wrong. When I took, yeah, I didn't have that problem because I obviously only know one numbering system, the English numbering system. But when I took statistics, I accidentally started inventing my own math and had to go explain it to my professor because I got the right answer. He's like, you used this in several different places on the test and you got the right answer. What were you doing? I had to sit down. I didn't even know. I had no idea that I had done that.
No.
So I had to go into his office and like explain it because like I had taken like 2 classes from him already. This was like the 5th math class that I had taken in college. And at some point in there, I had started inventing my own math. I was doing like dot products for matrices on statistics, which doesn't exist or something like that. And I was like using this.
Did you start? No, it had to start where you saw a pattern repeat. Something.
Right. I had written my own notation and started calculating statistics that way because it made sense in my head. I started writing it down on the paper and it just like throughout the semester, it sort of morphed into this new written notation.
Man, I went to school to like, I don't know, you want to call it IAs, like tech school, you know, all servers and all these things and codes and, you know, but they're going like so fast and I'm asking these questions and I feel like there's like a ripple of energy somehow, like, huh? okay, I'm looking at the specific thing on the whiteboard, and all of a sudden the teacher starts talking about it. Like, did she like read my mind? Like, or did he read my mind? Like on that specific thing, like I was looking at, like, how did that happen?
Maybe you were just so intuitive that you were ahead of the professor.
I felt that was something like that when I started seeing people not show up, and it just became like, okay, I came the first time, there's nobody. Came the second time, there's nobody. Came the third time, then I came like with one time, like surprise, surprise, because they're like sending me these like, okay, you've got this much left over that you need to pay the school. I'm like, all right, fine, so I went there with the money, with a case of papers, because I had promised the lady, the registrar, because I was printing so many things on little fine print things, and I didn't have time to sit and read it, but I still wanted a copy of it. And she's like, oh, you're printing too much. I'm like, I promise you I'm gonna get your case of papers, but I still need this at the moment. So I went there with the case. I said, here you go, you can and like, take this as a promise fulfilled, because I had taken some papers, and
you literally went out and bought a case of paper and brought it to them?
Yeah. I promised, yeah, I will, because I was there, and because she was fussing about that I was doing that. I'm like, I promise, like, come on, like, I'm telling you, I'll get you a case, and this thing, like, what I need is that much. So like, think of it as like paper inflation, but this is for me. What's in it is more important than like, here you go. And I'll get you the most, recycled paper, like eco-friendly, approved by the education, approved by this and approved by that for, like, you can't say no, like that. And I took it and I went there like, oh, you can't leave this here. I'm like, why? They're like, oh, there's some regulations about this. I'm like, you know what? For all I care is my promise fulfilled. There's camera. So she, have a nice day. Here's your, like, stop sending me these things, because you guys wanted to falsify. When I was asking a question and writing my notes, the next day, like, you tell me it's gone. Like, I'll go find it. Like, really? Like, where's Waldo? Like, hold on, let me finish my idea. Like, stop, like, taking my stuff. And just kind of became like, all right, it's me or them. Like, either they're messing with me, or like, are they trying to teach me that, like, the time pace is so fast, and then they, tell you need to do this format and this format and this format. Like, just slow down. I could do so much better. Like, ooh, like the whole thing, but give me time. And then I take, I start working on this and put, like, doing these things. But, I don't know. I want to believe they're right. There's something into that, even if it's little information that I still capture, but it's core information. I felt like it was a code school. Like, these teachers are teaching something beyond the visible, what is being shown. It's more a signal language, of coding something, inside of something, like it's an algorithm, and it's built on the people that are inside that space that are trying to, create something like this using, every possible available machine to, it may look down to earth, but really it's scientifically measured down to, like, the, everything, like, the material of surfaces, that, so that each person, the energy travels through this, you want to call it like class, or this group of people with all the latest technology, to come up with something beyond brilliant that has not yet been tapped into. And, we want to believe, like, I don't know how they call them, like the invisible men, like, theory. Yeah, these guys were like the pioneers of this stuff. They pushed the boundaries because they didn't know any better. So their excitement level was like, like, well, but they created dimensions. Oh, guess what? Now to recombine those dimensions, there's like a balance scale. Let's call it the visible spectrum and the invisible spectrum. And like you would see up, down, but it has to always be progression. Always has to be a futuristic thing. Always we have to, give hope for our generations to, do the same thing over and over and over. And, and that's how we spread humanity. All scientists, even, philosophers, even like like every like little ancient little thing drew it and wrote it and niched it, and they used different materials to try to prove it that it's gonna resist the time of time, and somebody's gonna come with some kind of thing, and it's gonna do that silhouette's gonna reflect on this timeline when this surface is gonna be visible, otherwise it won't be tapped into, things like that. Yeah.
Like Steve Wozniak, the forgotten co-founder of Apple. He was Steve Jobs' business partner.
Yeah. His father is Syrian. He's a fair. Do you know that?
Steve Jobs' father?
Yes, he's Syrian.
Yeah. So Steve Wozniak, he actually designed all the circuit boards. Like Steve Jobs had pretty much nothing to do with designing the initial technology. He was just like, hey, let's sell it. And they were friends in high school. So Steve Wozniak actually originally worked for Hewlett Packard. He had a degree in engineering and worked from Berkeley and worked at Hewlett Packard designing calculator circuitry. And he had this idea for like a personal computer because he saw all these personal computer kits out there and they were all like switches and lights and all this boring stuff. And he was like, no, I want something that hooks up to a computer or hooks up to a TV.
Now,
So
I know
he
he wasn't fond of like his technology because a lot of, people started wanting to use it the wrong way. And, he died of cancer because he tried to expose himself as much as possible to be a shield against that, using it as a weaponry system. Yeah, and that's the truth. He absorbed so much radiation that,
He also refused any sort of chemotherapy or surgery or anything like that, and he thought he could heal his cancer by being a fruitarian. And later, in late stages of cancer, he regretted that decision.
I don't know, but I know he was one of, the modern day unparalleled geniuses of his time, of our time. Like, this is, what I lived it. I'm the generation where, typewriters are, before we even had anything that's called computers. And it's not that old. Like I'm born in 1981. So, but I lived through so many technology flippings, like conversions of different mediums of.
Right. VHS to DVD, and then like libraries to the basic internet with dial up. And then all of a sudden we all have broadband coming into our houses and like, no, I was born in 1981 too. I saw all those same transitions.
Yeah. I mean, he was like earlier speakers were talking about libraries. Yeah. Like I have to go to the library. I have to get a book. I have to go to who wrote this and what timeline, flip the book, what edition, this, that, go to the typewriter. Like it was like a process. Yeah. Well, now the modern day, like citations were like so fast. We understand the science, but we don't give credit to, the citations. But if we understand it, then the citations for us is just like an additional work, like just like, we're so focused on understanding the science, like how do things, we forget like where like did this originate, or are we tapping into something that relies on a previous fundamental, but just, now is being credited, or there's a lot, the age of information and science and speed. I mean, like speed meaning propellant, like, take the good part of what I'm trying like to say, like if our mind is in propelling up, that means we're always trying to break the boundaries of anything that is computized currently, meaning we're pushing the boundaries of the possible realms of all of these machines say it's okay. Now we're in the zone like can't read it, we know, so we we break its sensor capabilities if you cannot identify it, right? So humans still supersede, like still win over the machines, all of them. It's like the best kind of sensors. That's science. I was pushing those like kind of boundaries to just say, humans rule, not machines, no matter what but it's fun to create them. Like that's how you have a measurement, like something to, go like faster than like, okay, I went again, like, talking about games, talking about these things. This is like kind of the same idea, but on like 1-to-1 ratios. I tried to explain that earlier, but I don't know. I guess the new generations is more accepting because they see it as code. They don't understand the nature of what the source that is. It's like a blind trust or the blind, vision of understanding of that, that means. They don't know the science of it.
Yeah, kids grow up with tablets and they don't really understand how they work.
Yeah.
It's like this cartoon thing they can interact with, but they don't actually understand what's going on the inside of the device. And having seen all this stuff sort of evolve as we age, we kind of have a different understanding of like the circuitry and all where it came from. Because like,
do you have a younger generation around you, like younger kids? Have you sat and watched their interests or how they, the kind of communication levels that they have between them, or what like promotes them to have a competition that's not physical, rather that more intellectual or scientific, or knowing how to do small intricate things, and it relied on a medium that they all shared, like those platforms, the games. Like I see the kids, like my kids like drive me insane with this stuff because I'm like, you did that? My gosh, like how'd you do that? Like I get interested and I want to know, like, okay, show me, like, what'd you do? I'm like, how'd you transfer this to this? And what'd you gain? That much, that's the difference. Like they give me this whole, like, how did I always come up in the positive? Like, it's like the coolest thing. And, they could like tell you the process of where they have to convert. Like if I give them a gift card, all right?
Mm-hmm.
They'll teach you the process of where they do it. And then they even like receipts, they tell you where to go to get a relay code of value so they could still use it again on some, like they figured out like the maximum potential of, like, I don't know, knowing code, but not really knowing code. You know what I mean? Like they just,
right.
Yeah, like they just learn it. That's their basic knowledge platform. That's like how like they prove to themselves, to the people on that platform, to their watchers, to this, like they're on another parallel of, you say speed of computation, but it has to start somewhere. Somebody has to say click, like that.
Right. Somebody had to design the circuitry somewhere and write all the basic code for it. And we've gotten to the point where we sort of take some of it for granted. People don't really understand it, which is why STEM is so STEM programs for kids are so important. We really need to focus on teaching them more of these things, and so that they start to understand some of the science and some of the background.
The moms have to refine it.
Right. More or less.
Yeah. I mean, like there are games, I agree with what was said, before, that I don't like. I really don't. I just, I don't want my like kids' heads filled with that kind of imagery, really. Like it's cluttering up memory, space memory, especially like darker imageries, like imprint more, I would rather have them have a different imagery. And I know what I want my kids to have. So I try to surround their imagery and, wherever I am, into the direction that I want them to go and, get interested in. Just, but digital medias, I can't control those. And they're like years ahead of, my understanding. If I bug them too much, like say I call them in the middle of the game, they're like, all right, mom, whatever, we're playing, bye. Like,
yeah.
Like, hold on. I had like, I miss them, like things like that. Like, I understand, they call me like, we need this, we need that, like we need it, because we want to do this. And it's like, it's so funny because they, go watch ones you love, like little ones you love. Like, my gosh, then you'll understand like a different concept of value or science or interest or, all of that world becomes, our world becomes like, or the, let's say the, I don't know, like whatever things people think is art becomes valueless. And it's a different value that you're like, whoa, how did I not see that? Thing like that. Listen, digital medias, science projected on kids have to be approved somehow through, you know, the parenting generation. That's how we make better generations. This is science. Call it DNA filtering, call it whatever you want to call it, code. You want it with, that's really, you know, the core principles. Like, we're trying to have a better generation all the time, not a worse one. No, like we're growing up, not, you know, not growing up and go like emptying garbage out of kids' brains. That helps them go up. Even on our level, you know, if we go into our photos or things that people sent us, if we don't agree to it, or it was some part of like some bulk, like whatever, delete it off, because in digital world that somehow projects as something you believe or counts towards your whatever, like digital scoring system, whatever, you know, just delete it off, because GPS coordinates, IP addresses, all of that, you know, all that is in there. No matter how much you try to shield it or try blah, 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 you know, it's impossible. I mean, there's so much more, you know, things that could detect, you know, a creation of any kind of document or any kind of HTML, any space in the pre-programmed space. Oh, somebody opened up something new, you know, like it becomes already. So yeah, you could have all that, great, but there's much more things that could detect all this stuff. You just, you know, how do we use it? That's the question.
There's no substitute for good parenting.
Yeah, just the medium has to be good. Like, I mean, do you guys believe in generating a code, a game code could cause a machine-made virus in a lab? It's not a biological one, it's a machine-made one. And then a vaccine being synthesized by a machine. Huh. Not, again, it's not like an antibody from a biological Mother Nature's, you know, filtration system. No, this is like a computer filtration system, and everybody's being dragged into this. Like, my gosh, like, how did you believe that? You know, like, I read laws, I read constitutional things. I've tried, like, beyond what you can think. I've tried. There are the time things for human health, for not, you know, going through things just because, you know, we think it solves an immediate solution, but you know what happens later. We simulated with, you know, code generators. Code generators are, those are not 100% accurate. They really are not, because they're not right. They don't, like, real life translation. There's a difference. Expectation of a fast frequency, you know, iteration. But if you don't, and you don't want just singularities, you want things that propel.
What should we title this segment of APEC?
I don't know.
What are you putting? What are you putting?
Right now, I'm wiring up a switch for the smoke system on my paramotor.
Oh, cool. So you can, like, you'll be in the air and leave a trail of smoke behind you?
Yeah, when I push the button.
Yeah, make sure it's fluorescent so it glows in the dark.
I'll make sure.
I mean, if we're pushing the boundaries of science, let's do it all the way, you know, day or night, same effect.
Do
I
it.
want glow in the dark smoke. That'd be cool.
Yeah. Aren't those like glowy things that for like Halloween and, you know, all the kids wear?
Glow
Like those,
sticks.
yeah, like that stuff, like put it in the, like the little thing becomes smoke, colorful smoke, fluorescent smoke, you know? It's still the same thing, just it's there. You could buy like, I don't know how many for nothing. Like,
That would be cool.
You know what you use to make smoke? We're using mineral oil. Actually, baby oil.
Baby oil.
Yeah, you throw it, push it, pump it into the exhaust.
Oh, really? Because it
Yeah.
evaporates, or does it burn? I guess it must burn.
It probably burns. Yeah.
are you trying something new?
No, I've had a smoke system for a while now. It's just I'm putting in a new. I'm installing a new throttle, and this one is going to have a special button for the smoke system.
Trying to think if that's how I remember it. It was another. I swear to God, it was a motor with a string and a thing that he had to like go like this and pull this for the thing to start. Like I could like I watched how that thing started. It's like a little motor, just a little one with a little thing like that, and yeah,
Like a 4-cycle lawnmower with a single cylinder.
maybe.
Two cycle engines.
Is it a 2-cycle?
Yeah. 2-stroke engines.
How many cylinders does it have?
One.
Just one. 1 2-cycle. Okay.
Yeah, it's 185 cc.
Okay.
So it's pretty powerful. Packs a punch. It's specifically made for paramotor flying.
Okay, sure. Yeah.
Made by Viterazzi in Italy. I gotta solder on one more wire.
Take videos. I want to see like whenever you put it together on fly.
I showed you some videos earlier.
Yeah, those are old ones, but now you're like doing things. So I want to see whenever you're done. I want to see old stuff. I want to see the new things.
October is too old. Time moves fast for you.
You know, you're saying time moves too fast. The other day, my mom talked to me and she's like, "Oh, I haven't talked to you in a year." But that's not right. I actually talked to her like 2 weeks ago. I'm like, "Oh, really?" Mm-hmm.
That's like my mom.
I didn't say anything, but like, like she doesn't know that there's, you know, am I on a higher frequency that she's registering a year and really just has been a couple of weeks? Like,
my mom, when she gets to the end of the conversation, she goes back to the beginning of the conversation and starts it over. So she'll ask me the same question like sometimes multiple times in one conversation because she doesn't remember that it was the first question she asked me. So then we have this entire conversation, and we get to the end and we start the entire conversation over again.
You know why? Because she wants to make sure, did you understand her clearly? You know, like that's how moms are. So you don't ever use the excuse, oh, I forgot. Like, no, I repeated it twice. You know,
No, I said it to you twice. Yeah, no, she's always done that.
Yeah, I do that. I'm like, do you hear me? Repeat it. What did I say? I want to hear it. You know, like that. Like, you know, so it's not misunderstood.
Now I understand it's a mom thing.
It's a mom thing. Yeah. I do it all the time, man. I do it all the time. Like, that's the nature. That's just the nature of it. It's not being mean or annoying or like, no, but just like, you know, because we love our kids and, you know, we want to protect them. And so we say things over and over and over and over and over for them, like, you know, just out of concern, not out of, you know, anything else. Just.
I'm 40 years old. My mom still does that.
Yeah. Does she tell you wear your jacket? wear your jacket.
Actually, she moved to Florida, so it's more like she asked me what the weather is, but she'll ask me multiple times. And like, did you walk your dog? When are you walking your dog? Did you walk him the other day?
Better not lie. Like if you lie, then you say different weather, they'll catch on. Like, so you're not wearing a jacket. You're telling, you know, like telling you, my mom was obsessed with, did you wear a jacket? You know, take a jacket. So I became with the same obsession. I'm like, just take it with you. Throw in the car, put it in the car, but just you want to know it's there, you know, like that. So I don't.
Just in case you need it.
Yeah, no, just so you don't say, I'm cold. You know, no, you have a jacket. Don't say you're cold.
Lulu, where's your jacket?
I've got like 2 of them behind me, you know.
Let me see your jacket.
My like wolf jackets, or there you go.
Your big fur coat.
This is my like silver one. That's my golden one. See? And it has like the cool like crystals and like this is like handmade stuff. Like beyond handmade, like they're, you know, human. Like I went there, like I couldn't resist. Like it just was like my gosh, yeah.
Got the unresistible handmade stuff.
My gosh, yeah, because there's like real. It's not, you know, it's like natural, all of it. I don't wear things with tags.
If it's handmade, then it's not natural.
No, it's like, you know, they did the
it's naturally handmade.
Yeah, it's not a machine. You understand? Like it's natural products. Like it's like real, like, you know, like this. I think this is cow skin, like real, like, you know, natural form still. Not like, you know, just that piece configured and, you know, things attached like fur, like, you know.
Like grass-fed cows though?
Huh?
Free range.
Free range cows?
Is it a free range jacket?
Come on, I don't know. So like, come on, I don't know to that level. For me, it was like, okay, is somebody, nobody's gonna have a piece like that one, you know. Let's see, nobody. I took the 2 versions, so really definitely nobody could have a piece like that one, like that. The only 2 in existence.
Yeah. Lulu's got the jacket.
Hey, okay, another one. They put me on this, like, you know, fashion week. You know, I'm wearing my cool stuff and, you know, I'm in the middle of the spotlight. Like, yeah, this stuff, if it's not already, like, let's say, digitally identified, it becomes something that everybody's like, okay, this is something new. And new things are the things that not are searchable. They're like more of like, you see them, you know, can't like just one place and that's it. It's not like, yeah, like these things, for example, I got them from not East Coast, but other ones, from the Alpine Mountains. Natural hunters made these things vary, you know, the rarity of the seasons, like, you know, I mean, beyond cool process, and they sell them there. You know, you go here to the department stores and they're like selling them for hundreds of thousands of dollars. But yeah, how much did I pay? I paid less than $1,000. Get it? Like, be for things that you won't find anywhere, nowhere, like Alpine mountains. Go figure. You know? Telling you, like, it's about giving the universe something that it doesn't already know, hasn't already, you know, like, that's how you create new things. You know, space and time. It's not like what you're doing right now. You're not going by some little manual. You know what you're doing. You know exactly what, you know, you're putting in there. Not, you know the science behind it. Not anymore that, you know, you're trying to, you know, follow a rule book. You just now can bypass that rule book, like that kind of stuff. I love the show because it puts science together. I love this. Did you guys hear how many joules or like how many RPMs could be generated? 16,000 RPMs.
From
Whoa.
what? From that linear motor?
Yeah.
So Mark, I wanted to ask you about that. He kept talking about rotational velocity. Is that the same thing? Or is that similar to what you're working on with angular momentum to linear momentum?
Yeah, those are similar concepts. Gamble's thing, I need to rewatch that, but what I'm working on is very much related to what Gamble's working on. In fact, he inspired part of the project.
Okay.
It's pretty much complete. We're just waiting on some software for the programming, programming the servo controllers to be completed, and it'll be done.
Cool. Yeah, one thing that I understand is he wouldn't talk about what the actual design of his motor was. What I couldn't quite figure out is he said something about if you can pay me in years, I'd take years instead of millions of dollars. Is he actually trying to sell that design or technology? Is that why he won't talk about it?
I have no idea.
I don't quite understand why he wouldn't talk about it. He's like, we need to get this out into the public so that everybody can work with it, but he didn't want to talk about the details of how it was designed.
Yeah, ain't that convenient? We really need to get this out there. I can't tell you anything about it.
Yeah, that was weird. Like, I didn't quite understand that. It seems like a direct conflict of interest.
Or direct conflict of what he was saying he was trying to do.
Right, yeah, it's totally a logical conflict there.
Nope, there's one little last thing that he didn't mention there, that last little bit. That connection, it creates a pinnacle point that he just like, but we're talking so minute that, I mean, I caught it, but I don't want to say anything. I'm like, okay, you know what? If you know, you know, you don't know, then you're gonna write the wrong code. Because
Right.
then you know, yes, I know, I saw it. But I'm not gonna say anything. Yeah, I'm not gonna explain more because how do you know that? It's by identifying the missing part. Like, like, okay, I figured out, like, why didn't you say that one? What you hiding there? Like, why do you want to like have that vector field completely, unknown?
Yeah.
Yeah. Things like that.
Yeah, but then, but immediately after that, we had our friend Mr. Gamble show us his motor, and the entire thing was open, like it didn't even have a casing, so we could actually see the whole thing operate.
Yeah, no, it's like
If you scroll back a couple of months on APEC, we have, while we were building the gyroscope system, which is in the other room, we showed you the machining on it as well.
Okay.
I have a question. Your car. Could somebody send a signal to your car to start your motor if you lost your keys? Yeah, it's kind of
Maybe. Yeah, I mean, possibly. I mean,
kind of the same idea. It's just sending a signal to start that motor. I mean, this is what it really is. I mean, I've had
Lots of cars that do that.
key. I've lost my key before. I've had to call, and they said, "All right, we'll unlock it and we'll start the motor." And then, you know, this technology is already there.
like OnStar or something like that. You can call them and they'll just start your car and unlock the doors for you.
Yeah, like I don't know, they have it on each car. Like, you know, at least the cars that I had like that thing. Yeah, you press the button, there's OnStar, and you know, it's cool. It's a cool thing, you know. It's like it happens. It's not, sometimes happens. Like you know, we're all human. We're not 100% perfect. You know, we're gonna. So there are little things just to make our lives easier. And the motor that he was describing is no different than what I'm telling you already exists.
No, I mean, you might be able to like.
Okay, you guys in the cold, don't you have like remote starters to your cars? So the ice, like the ice on the windshield, like melts. Like you want to start the car, so you don't end up going down there with like a little thing and trying to crack that ice, or waiting your car like, you know, half an hour before that, you know. So
Oh,
same idea.
yeah, some people do. Yeah, but I mean, it should be possible. Like, if you could control an electromagnetic field in a really finite way and project it in just the right spot and manipulate, you should be able to manipulate a starter from a distance, like the starter on the engine, and actually get it to turn over.
That's a lot of current though.
Yeah.
My gosh, okay, this technology already exists. Already, I've experienced it. It's not, you're talking about something that's out of this world. Like, it's there. We'll go to any car shop, like tell them I need a remote car starter. Like, they're like, okay, how far do you want it? This far? How, you know, like, yeah, are you on this level? Or like, it just, you get to, you know, like all of it. And that's like a whole engine car, a whole thing just starts because they beam signal start.
Wonder what's up with Tony Robertson and his anime right now. My well is full this time.
Only been watching anime on Netflix, which is sort of anime. I don't know if it quite qualifies as anime.
If anything, you know, it has to have flawlessness in order for it to grade it as human. And if it doesn't have flawlessness and like flawless, then it thinks it's a digital, and it gives it an anime classification. He's talking about like BBC and all the other like band channels, broadcasting band, you know.
Talking about the BBC, is there any new updates on the situation?
I haven't
No.
checked since yesterday.
He was trying to tell us something different though. He's telling us that the broadband is a higher altitude than the broadband of like the, let's say he named the BBC and another one. So, something he was trying to tell us there. Yeah, I love science, but sometimes it hurts my head to even think of the possibilities, because then we just spend our lives thinking of the possibilities and we don't do the possibilities. Yeah. I have a question.
Yeah.
No, this is to Mark.
Okay.
Listening?
Why is Jeremy Reese like not connected to this? Is it like he's doing the own thing, his own like separate thing, or like why isn't it like how it usually is?
I don't know what you mean by this. He's connected. He's actually logged in right now. His name's up
That's
there.
not
What do you mean connected to this? What is this?
to our APEC conference.
He is.
Wasn't earlier, because I wanted to like validate what we talked about yesterday on a different platform and what was happening. And then what was
Well,
today.
he's doing a job right now.
Yeah, like listen, there's a gap from like 2015 till like right now. So my gosh, that's a gap in time of digital like or media output of information. So like at one platform they get it at this timeline, and one platform it's happening in this timeline. But my gosh, like okay, we talked about, do you validate? All right, I'm telling you something.
You're talking about the trucker protests
Yes.
in Canada?
Yeah, he's in our conference. It was said 2015. Yesterday, it was 2022. Like, well, yeah, and I don't want to sit and correct that, but like, okay, so and so and so was there, and this was just yesterday. Like, tell me, like, was this like false media? Was this what happened in one day? Did it just 7 years fly by? Yeah, I want to understand, like, on like the technology, like, knowledge sharing, information sharing, verifying, like, okay, this was what talked about yesterday, but today somebody here saying that. Which one's right?
Well, I don't know anything about protests in 2015, but they've definitely been blocking highways and things like that in this year, like actively right now. And the Canadian government recently just allowed the police to start clearing some of them out so they can't block border crossings anymore.
No, that's not right. Those things are no good. We don't want those things. Or whatever's in those trucks, we don't want them.
Okay, we might.
No, we don't want them. Like those things are like, they're no, like this is science that I read, real science. Like it's rat poison components, and they're giving them, like they're filtering out.
What the fuck are you talking about? These are truckers fighting for their rights. They don't have anything inside their trucks.
No, the fight is about the components of the things in the trucks. It's
No, the
vaccine.
vaccines,
No,
not,
the
the, not,
vaccine.
not in the trucks. It's the vaccine mandates.
They're
No,
fighting the
it's
vaccine mandate.
vaccines that are in the trucks in Canada. The
No, they're-
protests out there, they don't want let those truckers through because they're carrying the vaccines. The vaccines are made out of rat poison.
None of that's accurate.
I'm telling you.
I don't
this
think
is
that's
the truth.
accurate, though.
You know, this is the truth. If you go back into Hack My Phone, go back into the source of where this information I'm telling you, you'll find that. I'm not lying to you. Yeah, I don't know on what timeline somebody's broadcasting this from, like real science tours, like being there analyzing the vaccine. Some truckers are actually refusing to drive because they know what they're carrying on their truckloads. It's a combination of like protesters and truckers don't want this product to be filtered through, you know, globally. 'cause it's
No,
made out
they
of
don't
rat
want to
poison.
follow the vaccine mandate. They don't want to be forced to get a vaccine in order to do their job.
No, I don't, this just against the idea that this is gonna be pumped into the world, that the inside of it's no good. I wouldn't want this to no one. Even if I was a truck driver, even if I was a protester, even if I was God himself, I'd be like, you know, put the barricade, we're not letting this thing go to everybody. We know what it is. I mean, why would you want to poison the world? Like, okay, a bad batch or bad, like, you know, it's called machine error. Like, we don't have to test it out. Like, okay, if the component came out to rat poison, I think we're pushing the fucking boundaries. Excuse my French, but really, like, you know, it's called fornication under the king's consent. So I give it a legal term. Here you go. But seriously, no, like nobody would be okay with that. Like, analyze it first give it to other scientists, like go yourselves. Everybody is a scientist in their own way. Go verify your things, go up there. It's not, you know, is it this timeline? Is it not long over? What happened? Because there's truth into that. You wouldn't have an area of the world that is being lit and we don't know what the truth is, this way or that way. What if they just don't want, like both sides don't want this? Doesn't it come to a point where two sides like, no, we don't want this. No, we don't care what the, you know, whatever code, law, whatever you want to say we're breaking. We believe this is not good. Even as a, you know, in any form of being you know, gaining benefit out of this, you'd say, okay, the risks are too high because it could affect me, it could affect you, it could affect you, it could affect, like, this is, why would we want this on us? So that's my, you know, I believe both sides, the truckers, the protesters, you know, I know these things get manufactured in like cold weathers and, you know, when they come down, like, you know, from north to south, like, yeah, there is temperature has to, you know, it could have been just that, let's say that flare that happened, that fluctuation changed its, you know, its purpose. Mutations happen before, like, it's a certain timeline. Why would what if it was nobody's fault? But that still, that batch is poisonous elements at this moment. So nobody wants that. I don't care if they send whoever they want to send. Like, if, let's say, whoever is officials, whatever you want to call them, intelligence, SWAT, you know, making a black spot where there's no media, where people can't see. Same thing is happening in Ukraine, just, you know, as a parallel, if you want, at the same time, same moment, stuff like this is happening here and there. Yeah, you know, like media blockages, outages, because what that event wants to be rationalized for media production, for acceptance, for people to believe. And already the system knows each person's tolerance, so it gives it to them in dilated forms, you know, like of perception, and tested it out on them. Who's going to buy this? Who's not? And, you know, what time, space, and gap they need to put it. It's, you know.
I'm going to interrupt you with the screen share. Hey, Mark.
Thank you. Yeah.
Here is a map of what's going on around Belarus. This was from, I don't know what's the date, 17 hours ago. So the troop buildups, permanently stationed units are the red dots. The size indicates the size. Russian units in Belarus are the triangles over here in Belarus. They're doing military exercises with the Belarusian army. And then the blue squares are new troops that have been moved into the area. So you can see there are 4 down in Crimea, the south of Ukraine, and then a few moving toward the border over here in Russia. And 1 permanent installation over in Moldova.
Are those like tactical teams or like descriptions of like trying to surround, you know, something?
Yeah, they're surrounding Ukraine. The Russian military surrounding Ukraine.
Yeah,
Because
the
Ukraine
thing
is
though,
trying to
you know,
join NATO and Russia is completely against it. They consider NATO a threat. Anyway,
no, because I'll tell you why. A lot of
you'll tell me why? Okay, tell me.
Yeah, I'll tell you why. They want to join the global standard for, you know, digital integration and everything. Well, Russia does not want that to go global because it still wants to, you know, dictate it. A lot of horrors happen in that, you know, region. So Russia, it's not in Russia's interest ever to let that go global. You know, people.
Right. Well, Russia, ultimately what Russia wants is to get all of the former Soviet Union countries back under its umbrella, because the reason that they took them over in the first place was because they had more natural resources. Russia doesn't have a huge number of natural resources or any particular amount of exports. The only thing they export are fossil fuels, and fossil fuels are, you know, we're all trying to phase those things out and go green, which puts Russia in a really bad economic position. So they're trying to use their current military power to gain natural resources to secure their
How are they justifying their
power in the future?
Economic value system? If we're comparing a currency, let's say, in monetary value, like the Russian numerical system and the dollar system. I don't know what the Russian one.
Rubles.
But, you know, rubles. There you go. I'll check, but you know, which one is the really one that they use, not just the one that's like the biggest, because sometimes the value is not in the numerical value of expenditure, but it's in the atomic value of the substance. You have to remember that, you know, and that's the value of the country. Like how much could you produce of something, you know?
Right. So for them, it's mostly oil.
Yeah, no, it's like, for example, coins. How much could somebody produce legal Russian coins, you know, like that, the quantity. So that becomes, and that quantity is distributed into the populace. So that amount of metals that they produce with the government seal on them gets, you know, more and more. It's science, you know, you have to go beyond the idea of value as expenditure, but value in atomic, you know, material, the choosing of the material of value to differentiate from a different material value. You understand? Like, I really hope you guys understand what I'm saying, because the coinage system has encapsulated time of, you know, when that thing was created, like, you know, under what government and what was the value, you know, like in modern day, sometimes they call them bonds, but those are paper. But those are like, this is real bonds, like things like that. Like, and the more you distribute it to, you know, to your population, the more you give them like energy, metal power. You're giving them the wealth of, you know, the country's resources, the commodities, the natural elements, and you're giving it into their hands. You did the same thing with tablets, phones, the chip. There's very valuable things in there, and we're distributing it to the population. Same thing, value system. One does this, one is use this to do this. It's just evolving, but there's always.
Hey, it's me.
Hey, what's still going on here?
Yeah. Should I stop recording, or are you still going?
I don't know if you want to post any of the shit that's been going on here for a while.
You might want to cut out the last couple hours.
Okay, is there a stop point then?
You know what? I'm gonna stop coming to this conference. Seriously.
Well, no, Lulu, I wasn't trying to be negative. I was just, you were the one who told me last time, right? Last
Oh,
time you
yeah.
said stop recording early.
Yeah, but at least ask me. Don't say just automatically. Or what if I wanted to a certain point say, you know what, there's points there, and but whatever. Do what you want. You're the host. You guys invited me to this. I didn't, so you
Well,
make
I'm
the-
just
but I could
asking. I'm not trying to cause trouble. I'm not trying to cause trouble.
No, there's never trouble. There's never trouble. It's not trouble. It's just like, there are valid points. Look,
Yeah.
listen.
But we've been way off topic for at least an hour.
Okay, so I'll stop recording then in terms of conference stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.